Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today with episode 274 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
It's me, Karak, with ACG.
And I'm Dustin with Colin's Last Stand and Handsome Phantom.
All right, gentlemen, here we go. Another week. We got a lot to talk about. Before we get into our usual business of how we're doing, what we're playing, what we're up to, I wanted to address something real quickly that we were just talking about not even 30 seconds ago, thanks to Dustin. I was not aware when I posted the YouTube version of our show last week. I did not set the ads properly, so those of you who were listening on that platform, which most of you do, were hit with like a shotgun blast of, I'd say, upwards of like 15 ads in the first like 20 minutes of the show. This was on YouTube's end. It is automated. Yeah. So I have fixed that. That has been changed. I do apologize for that. It is in my control to be able to augment when the ads go. I had actually just completely forgot to change them this episode around, but it will not happen again because people were upset. The other thing people were upset about was when it came to the lacking of video last week. I had to slap a picture in because the render kept failing, and I had to get the show up in a timely manner because it was it's a 3 hour or so podcast, or it hits around that area most weeks. So even if we render it at the lowest quality, it is still a very long render to create the file. Then you have to upload it, and then when YouTube goes through its processing, that is almost the length of the entire video. So you don't get many shots at it. So I eventually had to just say, okay, I need to just put the picture in here and just let it rock, and hopefully we'll get it out in time. For those of you who pay close attention, the show came out a couple of hours later than it normally does. So I apologize for that. We've been having a couple of things for shifting behind the scenes that we're excited to talk about in the coming weeks with our audio platforms. And some changes we're making there. But for now, we'll just leave you with that little tease and get into our usual introduction. Dustin, Karak, what are you guys up to? What are you doing? I know Karak's been bench pressing copies of his PlayStation 5. But Dustin, what about you?
I should have showed a picture of or had a little audio track of 2001: A Space Odyssey on that thing.
Oh.
Yeah, you go ahead first, Dustin.
Oh, no. Yeah, I've been pretty good, pretty busy this week working on behind the scenes stuff for Colin mostly, but I'm starting to get into chill mode because my parents are in town, so we're just kind of hanging out. Yeah, I'm excited.
Where are they a long ways away, Dustin?
They live in outside of DC in Alexandria, Virginia, and so they're just here for a few days to hang out. They like to come up every once in a while. So as far as stuff I've been playing, Maddie, I did this for you. No, that's only half true. I went and I restarted and played through The Outer Worlds. Actually, it's also for Karak, because Karak ripped on me for not finishing.
Yeah, and then I saw your tweet too, which
yes. This is the part I was dreading.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Well, not dread. Yeah, sort of.
No, dreading.
Listen,
I was dreading this.
I think
I'm gonna roll up my sleeves.
So I gotta be clear up front. The first time I played Outer Worlds, I put a decent amount of time in, and I was doing all kinds of side content. So I know what the side content in this game is like. But for this playthrough, I was like, I want to see all of the main story. So that's what I did. And my feelings on the game are about the same. I think it is a good and sometimes great game, but the feeling it gave me was like, I am excited to see the sequel to this game with a much larger budget. Does that make sense?
A lot of people say that. I got my friends follow you. They sent it into that tweet into our group chat, and it turned into a gigantic debate on whether or not the game is good.
I didn't know this.
Dustin should be removed and all.
Yeah, Dustin had no idea the turmoil he caused me as I was in like a 1v4 for this game's honor. I was fighting a great battle about why I think it's good, but enough about that. What
I do think it's a good. Sorry, I think it's a good game.
I thought you said it was okay. I thought you said it was okay. My bad.
Wait, I can't remember what I said.
I remember you tweeted. I think you tweeted it was okay, but I mean, look, Dustin, you caused me a lot of pain, so I'll let it slide this time. I just want to hear your true thoughts.
I said it was okay, and that I mostly enjoyed my time with it. Okay, so yeah, it's okay. It is sometimes great. At other points, I thought that I was like, I think the whole portrait dialogue thing is needs to die. It's over.
Oh,
It
okay.
feels dated. I don't like it. I know some people might like it. That's fine. I just was like, feels dated to me, and to the point that it kind of removed from the immersive qualities of the game. That's just how I felt personally. But yeah, I mean, it was fine. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it forever. It's old news at this point. But I went back and did that. And now I picked up Ni no Kuni Remastered because it was on clearance at Walmart of all places.
Oh.
And so
How much you get it for? $10?
$15.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
which is only like $5 cheaper than Amazon. So it really wasn't that much.
Yeah,
I was already thinking about it, and it happened to be on sale. So I was like,
Right.
of course.
I look at it this way, right? You walk into a diner, maybe. You got
Okay.
$15 in your pocket. You probably gotten about like an hour of a meal and some entertainment there, right? Or you buy Ni no Kuni Remastered, and you've got like 50 hours of just good times to be had.
Right. So I'm so early that I don't even want to talk about it that much. Like, I am now just getting into the overworld map. And I will say that I think the beginning is just like tiny bit slow.
It is. Yeah.
But I'm now at the point, what's exciting is that the next time I play it is the real dive in. Like, I feel like I've gotten past the beginning slog.
Yeah, once you hit the overworld, that's where it kind of opens up, so to speak,
Right.
and you can. There's like a second phase to that game where it really like truly opens up on a bigger level. But yes, it's a very good game. It's your first time playing it, right? You're a big fan of the sequel, but is this your first time with the original?
I had started it on PS3 a lot of years ago, before 2 came out, but it was after the PS4 was out. And I remember what kept me from wanting to play it is that I just fucking hate playing things on PlayStation 3 at this point. For some reason, like, I guess it wasn't that big of a deal because it was just like turn it on and play the game. But something about it, I just at the time wasn't
I get
feeling
it.
it.
I get it.
So, but I knew it was a good game. And now that it was, it's been remastered, I'm playing it on the 1440p 60 FPS mode, which is nice. So I'm really excited to dive in. I'm a little, I think apprehensive is the right word about the combat. I've done so minimal that I don't have any kind of take on it, but it is interesting how much they changed it for Ni no Kuni 2. That Ni no Kuni 2 basically is like a full action RPG, whereas the first one is more.
They literally went from like Final Fantasy to Tales of. Like, it's a world of a difference, which is why I actually want to try Ni no Kuni 2 because I like the more action combat. I think that
you didn't play 2.
I did not.
Damn, dude. Well, this could work out if you decide to play 2. It's not like it's a busy time right now. Just pop it in. No big deal.
Finish Trails 2, man. I gotta finish.
Oh no. Don't mention Trails. We're not allowed. No mentioning Trails. You put Trails music in side quest last week. I nearly fired you, which I don't know if I have that ability.
I think,
but I would do it.
You're at a higher position than me. You probably.
I don't know if I have firing privileges though.
No,
Okay.
you probably have like, Colin, we should get rid of this guy privileges. Like, you can put the paper on the table, the termination papers,
right?
To just get me out of there.
Yeah. No, I really didn't. I mean, I have no problem with Trails, though. I did. It's funny because what was it on Sacred Symbols Plus that we had a conversation, or was it last week on this show?
About
I got a
Trails?
few.
I mean, we talk about Trails like every week, I feel.
Yeah, I've gotten a few comments and messages from people about Trails in my my statements. Very
I'll be honest.
Topic.
As a Trails fan, they're passionate because they're one of a very few amount of fans. So when you mention it, the ears perk up. They're like, I got messages too. If it makes you feel any better, yeah. So and I was talking in defense of the game, but I got messages. So
you weren't defending it enough, Maddie. Okay, you failed at getting.
If I didn't like something, I just didn't get it. That was kind of the message I got.
Oh, of course. No, if you don't like it, then why are you even on YouTube? Okay, you're a disgrace.
That's what I got from it all. Karak, we'll dish it back to you here. What have you been up to? I mean,
nothing that interesting. That
is
for sure.
You are a liar.
You are lying right to our face.
I really haven't
PS5
been.
owning son
Oh,
of
I
a
got that
bitch.
today. Yeah, no, I haven't been.
I was PS5.
Well, I mean, I haven't been. You guys, we're talking about games. I haven't been playing any games. I did do Rising, Phoenix, right? Whatever the fuck that generic ass game is called, Phoenix.
Oh, you don't like it, or no? I shouldn't
No,
say
I
you don't
hate
like
the
it.
name.
That's a reach. That's a reach.
The
but,
name.
Oh, you don't. Okay.
What
do you think of the game?
Horrendous. It's okay. I think that the game, the more I played it, because doesn't start out the greatest when it comes to presentation, and the absolutely horrid Mario, it's a me-yo voices throughout the entire thing. They're the worst voices I think I've ever heard in a game.
It took me a sec, yeah.
And I mentioned it, and one of my friends just played the Stadia version. He's like, it's not just me. And I'm like, no, he's like, he speaks German. He's like, the German version is normal. There's no inflection. It's like, I came into the English version, and it's like, I'm a Zeus, and these are my lightning bolts. It's like, you don't just add at the end. You're not suddenly, that's not how you become Italian. You don't add O at the end of everything to become Spanish. You're not like, Chero. Yeah, that's not Spanish. I have no clue what they're doing. It's terrifying. Like, I was listening to it and I even my wife was like, that's not real, is it? And I'm all, well, I don't want to say anything, because if it is real, because I don't know. I even said in my review, I'm like, I'm not 100% sure this is real. And that's how, like, really, let's say, mainlanders sound. Because if you hear somebody from Maine, let's say, they do sound like movies would have you believe. Really weird. Not to be rude to any people who are from Maine, but like, you sound fucking really weird. You don't sound like English people. And
sorry, but
you don't sound like good people. I'm just joking. No, so it was interesting when it came to voices, but it didn't start out great. It's got far more similarities, I believe, to Darksiders and to those other games than it does to Zelda. And I think Zelda comparisons carry a weight that game cannot possibly burden and should not have to. And I think the more we can get away from Zelda comparisons and more towards other more realistic comparisons, that game actually does a pretty okay job. It's that I see a lot of people dropping Zelda references all the time, continually, not just once or twice or to draw a comparison, which is fine, but continually. And I'm like, I don't know if that's really what we want to do. I mean, its theme is different, its plot is different, its action is different, its combat, its world, everything. You know, the spells or tools you get definitely look like Zelda. Gliding looks like Zelda. But yeah, I dug it, man. I mean, I didn't until middle. I'll just say that. It took me a while. Grew on me. Its action is surprisingly Devil May Cry light-ish or something. Like, I don't know how to... Dude, it's weird. The first time you see him pull off a move, you're like, this is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but 10 times faster and no weight. But you would think that would be bad because you're fighting guys that are from Odyssey, like with a spear and a shield. So you think it might be bad, but because there's enough mythical creatures, it's not bad. Like, I don't know. It started out where I was like, man, and then as it continued on, I was like, this might not be so bad. And the world, when you look out at that world, that's pretty fucking phenomenal. Like, it's phenomenal. I know people are going to say, well, there's not a lot of graphics to be drawn. That might be somewhat true. But I still think it's like that MMO you found out about last night that looked good. That's exactly what the game looks like to me. Like, I was looking late at night, I found an MMO, and I was like, that looks pretty fucking awesome. And I jump in, except here I jumped in and it got better and better. So now, yeah, that one's been enjoyable.
There's a demo, but it's only on Stadia now, right?
Yeah, two of the people I just had my podcast with said that the Stadia version was the best streaming experience they've had on Stadia so far.
Oh,
so that was positive to hear.
I might have to check that out.
Yeah, so maybe. Yeah, that was the big one.
You don't need a subscription for it either. You can just
no.
Oh,
yeah, you
that's
just
even better.
Your email. You just need your Gmail. It's pretty insane. And then doing a lot of Dungeons and Dragons kind of stuff, like on the side. Outside of gaming, trying to get that. And then I'm having all kinds of computer problems. So it's like,
nice.
If I'm not doing, somebody asked me this morning in my Discord, somebody was like, hey man, and I don't mean for him to sound dumb, because he wasn't. It was a good question. He said, should I, like, if I have the new consoles and I have a PC, which would be the best Cyberpunk experience? Well, most people said PC, and then I had to jump in and be like, okay, listen, it could be. It could be the best experience of your life. It could also be Red Dead 2. where some people still can't get Red Dead 2 to start. It could just be pain from start to finish. And it's like, if you have them all, I don't know what to tell you right now, because especially with the 3080s having issues with drivers as well, like it's new hardware. You have new consoles. They're also new hardware, of course. But we're heading for a weird time because AMD is now doing new cards as well. So driver issues have to suss themselves out. And it's going to be a gnarly fall, especially for a lot of these kind of things. So, and then other than that, some more Odyssey to get ready for Valhalla.
Oh.
Just to remind myself of what
I'm looking forward to Valhalla.
Very much, yeah.
That game looks awesome. What I played was awesome. Yeah, Ubisoft might be set up to have a pretty good fall here. They've got 3 big games coming out. Watch Dogs, which was out of the 3 I previewed, the one I was least excited for. They've got Valhalla. And they've got Phoenix Rising, which I'm in agreement. It felt slow at first, but for me it really picked up. I thought the open world activities were really fun. I thought they were different, not even just from a Ubisoft standard, but in general compared to open worlds. It didn't feel like your standard fare, which was really nice to see. And I think I never thought of the Devil May Cry comparison, but that was pretty spot on. It did have that
Devil May Cry light. I want to make sure nobody jumps in there, but
you're not throwing chains into people and yanking yourself.
Right. But it has an okay skill list, you know.
Yeah, it's from the team that made Odyssey, so part of me is not surprised because I felt Odyssey was like the biggest departure for the franchise, and in my opinion, it was one of the best AC games, and I think it did a lot of really cool things. So I'm not too surprised that they're sort of leading the charge on something once again refreshing for Ubisoft. For me, I didn't want to talk about Trails again. That's all I've really played this week. I'm reviewing a game as well. So what I did, gentlemen, prepared 2 questions for you guys. I feel like we haven't had a nice food debate in a while.
Oh, shit.
So I didn't want to put this in the audience hands. Yeah, I didn't put this in the audience hands. So I did a little bit of web surfing to see, what are some really controversial
web surfing
food opinions that are out there to dish off instead. And I came up with this. All right. Question number 1 for you fine gentlemen is a Pop-Tart a ravioli?
Oh, no.
No?
I don't play games.
But a Pop-Tart is fucking delicious.
Yes.
Sorry. They're my favorite. They're a Pop-Tart crumbled up on vanilla ice cream. That's a recipe, motherfuckers. I would like to see who's that crusty British dude with the scrunched up face and the weird hair who's always calling people idiot sandwiches. He sounds like a fucking dumbass.
Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, Gordon Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay, I would like to argue with him and say that that's not the best dessert, is a fucking crushed up like Pop-Tart on vanilla ice cream. Try it one of these days.
Karak, I have had a fried Pop-Tart with ice cream on top at the local fair here in my area. I go to the fair and I want the most disgusting thing possible.
Yeah, of course.
And that was it. And I was
I'm the most questionable vendor, Dustin.
Yes.
The guy who's like scratching his face a lot and he's
That's
like trying to sell you a Pop-Tart on the side and you're all, I got you.
Yeah. So yeah, the fried Pop-Tart, 10 out of 10. But Maddie, back to the original thing. No, these questions, I don't like them. You're playing games with me. Whoever wrote it is playing games.
When I saw this, I burst out laughing because I'm like, how the fuck do you even draw a comparison? They could arguably, you put a ravioli next to it. Maybe they look the same, but they're not like, one's pasta. Like,
right. It's not even the same.
I don't.
Is anything with filling then a ravioli? Is that the argument? Like, I don't think so.
I mean, I also joke around that like taquitos are just burritos on a fucking hunger strike. Like if you do look at a lot of these foods, they do look. Well, it is pretty accurate for a taquito and a burrito, but not for a fucking ravioli and a Pop-Tart. That doesn't even. That's crossbreeding families, man.
I used to live off taquitos in high school, man. I'd come home from school, I'd grab Mountain Dew, and I'd warm up like 3 of them on like a paper plate. That was it, dude.
They're thin, grubby, easy to grab, and you don't have to worry about them having burrito shits, which is where you eat a burrito and the bottom falls out.
Oh, I thought you were saying you just get the shit.
No, not from getting stick, Matty. They have the same material. You can but a little taquito. Also, by the way, if you can buy nacho cheese and just dip the taquito in like a drumstick of awesome.
Oh my god!
And then fucking bite into it. And so taquitos are pretty much sort of a cool miracle when you think about it. They're fucking really good.
Karak, that suggestion, that's like some
Try
X
it.
Games mode shit right there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. Especially when you got to
10,000
do a
IQ.
review, Dustin. You'll just fucking
Ooh.
and then talk. It looks like a cigar, but it
Here's
tastes
the problem.
fucking delish.
Manny, you were talking about eating a bunch of taquitos and Mountain Dew. I remember being with my friends. We get like the Sam's Club Costco pack of pizza rolls.
Sam's Club's where you
Yeah.
buy in bulk.
And you go
Yeah.
you go nuts. Now the problem is I did this once when I was past 23, we'll say, getting more mid 20s.
So, recently?
All it is heartburn at this point in my life, and it's
Oh.
very
that's too
disappointing.
bad.
So
Yeah.
I'm not young
My,
anymore, I guess.
My new favorite thing is mixing together a little mac and cheese with like barbecue chicken and just having them at the same time, like both get in
my.
your mouth, man. It is a flavor palette unlike anything I've ever had. Make sure you get creamy mac and cheese, by the way. It
Of course.
is
So-
it is a delectable cheat meal. I'll tell you that much.
So
man.
I'm assuming getting your friends. You're talking about on a weekend, right, Dustin? Getting your friends together and eating.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So we used to get together and play video games on the weekends, and admittedly, like I'm always doing stuff, and so I'm always got a fucking furnace, and so I do admit I eat a lot. And my friends would so during the week I wouldn't eat a lot. I'd be running, I'd be working out, and then on the weekends my friend would come over, and it was always, this is not a lie, man. This is so bad for you, by the way. And I just did it recently. Luckily, haven't had the heartburn thing, but it is a gallon of mint chocolate chip ice cream, an entire bag of Skittle boxes for Halloween that you would get, but it's a bag full, 48 count with little Skittles, and you have to open each one, and then 8 burritos with fucking half brick of cheese melted on them. I'm not lying, man.
Jesus Christ.
Dude, it was ridiculous. My friend came over and was like, dude, you're going to die. And I'm out there like,
that's a heartburn.
they're
That's a heart
playing
attack.
Gears of War and I'm working out. And they come out and they're like, why are you working out? I'm like, dude, I ate so much. I've got like calorie sweats going on. Like it's a little bit like The Rock, even though I don't look nothing like him. But I know what you mean on the weekends with friends. There's something that happens that to me causes hunger. I don't know. So if my friends come over for board games, I have a very regimented way in which I can eat like low carb right now, and I have to almost make sure I eat a ton, because when my friends are over, it becomes social, and there's something.
Dude,
and I get why people gain weight in that way.
So for when Handsome Phantom, me and 2 other guys from the team were in Los Angeles for E3, it's like that, but it's every night.
Yeah,
and it's like
I've heard some stories about people being really ill from eating too much.
Dude, we ate so bad the entire time.
And then you're also, I'm assuming you're trading places where you're eating, so sometimes your stomach can be even worse because it's not like you're not giving it time to acclimate to those different things.
From like 9 a.m. to sometimes 6 p.m., you eat nothing because you're on the show floor,
right,
or whatever, and then
you
eat like a horrible dinner. Then you end up going to some party thing where you have free drinks or whatever, and then you get back to your Airbnb, and then you just like chill and eat garbage. But I
remember. Did you guys fly E3?
Yeah.
So we drive because I'm not a huge. I mean, I fly when I can, but I like to drive a lot of times, and it's a nice drive from here. And my friends will conk out because they're carb loaded the entire time we're there. And then that last meal, and I'm driving home, and my friends, I mean, just snoring, just sawing logs, because everybody is just so, like, their bodies are like, why? Everybody's just ill, but it's a good time regardless. It's always fun.
That's any convention whatsoever.
Yeah, I think so.
My second question for you gentlemen: when you're making a sandwich, what comes first? The condiments on the bread, or do you put your meat, cheese, whatever you're putting on the sandwich, does that go in first and then condiments after?
Fucking person's a madman. They're saying that you might put your meat or cheese on dry fucking bread
and then just put the condiments in between.
First of all, no condiments on a sandwiches don't need anything.
That's where I'm at.
Thank you.
No condiments on
no
a
condiments.
Sandwich.
I can have the basics, whatever it needs, whatever you want. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Miracle Whip. I know some people are. I'm a mayo person, but whatever. You put that on it, but you would never put something on dry bread. Like, that would be nasty.
Yeah.
That would be nasty.
So you guys will have, let's say I put in front of you nice sandwich thin. I put some Munster cheese and some turkey on there, and I just handed it to you. You don't want mustard on that. You don't want mayo on that. You
No.
can
I
just
want
eat that.
mayo. I want
You can
mayo,
just-
but
you
I
can
don't
just
want
eat that
anything
dry.
else. I don't want onions. I don't want lettuce. I don't want.
Maddie, here's the Dustin lunch for the past month almost.
Oh no.
Okay, since I work from home, I get 2 pieces of bread, turkey, pepper jack cheese, and then I get a little bag, and I put some kettle chips in there. I crunch
Smash
them
'em.
up,
Yeah.
put it on the sandwich. You're good to go.
I guess
Yeah.
the chips are technically your condiment, though. You're cheating.
I would put mayo on it,
I
but
mean,
the
it kinda
identical
is.
sandwich.
Cheating.
Identical sandwich. I might do Doritos too, but the identical
Oh.
sandwich. A little bit of mayo, because I do like that. My throat gets dry if I eat like bread, like as a sandwich by itself. But yeah, I would agree. That's an awesome sandwich. Like to me, that's you don't want to fuck up the taste of like pepper jack as well. You don't want to like have some shitty ass side thing on there ruining pepper jack taste, because pepper
Ooh.
jack's fucking awesome.
Mhm.
So like,
It is the best cheese.
oh, it
in my
is.
opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Colby and I like pepper jack, but pepper jack's probably my favorite of all time. I didn't even know it existed until I graduated.
Oh,
And then because we always went with what are the yellow cheeses, like cheddar,
Right. American.
Yeah. So yeah, American. Yeah, which actually aren't that great compared to like pepper jack. That shit was a discovery.
All right. I just wanted to go ahead, fire those your
Where did you get
way.
these questions, by the way?
I came up with the second one myself because I was making a sandwich earlier, and I thought about, what
Would
would
you?
the, bo-
Okay,
what would the
no.
boys do?
We got to return it back to you. So
Okay.
what's your sandwich?
I will say lay down 2 pieces of bread. I'll put mustard on one side. I'll put chipotle mayo on the other. Lay
Oh,
down
okay.
cheese on
Chipotle
each side,
mayo.
and then put some meat in the middle. Now I'll
That's
admit,
not too far.
I don't crunch up the chips in there. Occasionally I'll throw a pickle or 2 in there if I'm feeling really crazy. But
Really?
that's the thing. I can't really. I struggle when I think of additional things to throw in there. I don't.
Right.
I can't even come off the top of my head with some.
Because I go
other
to
stuff.
Subway. It sounds like we all would go to Subway and they'd be like, "What do you want on the side?" And we'd be like, "Nothing. Maybe mustard for one." Like I'm a pretty boring sandwich.
Oh,
person.
dude, I'm
Me
probably
too.
Subway's worst customer. They just
I probably
keep
am as well.
sliding the tray down. They're like, "Do you want this,
Yeah.
this?" No, slide.
I'll
down.
do extra meat and extra cheese, and they'll be like, "Do you
Yeah.
want pepperoncinis?" I like. I don't know. Some people pronounce it like pepperoncinis, but those little sour peppers, I do
Mhm.
like those, but not necessarily on a sandwich. Almost on the side. And a pickle's strong. Like pickle game. If you put pickle and mustard together, to me, that's almost too much sour in a sandwich. I'd have to try it. Because I don't think I've ever mixed mustard and a pickle before. Because they both have sort of the same base. Now I want to try that.
I gotta try this chip sandwich that you
That's
guys
good.
are putting out into the universe because
It does something awesome to the bread, Maddie. Like, I don't know. You got to try it. It's good.
I feel like the
It's good.
Dorito one.
That's
The
my
Dorito one really is like that. That's speaking to me on a spiritual level because I'm a big nacho cheese Dorito guy. So I think that would gel.
See, for me, the kettle chips, I mean, it adds a crunch, first of all, which is delightful with the contrasting of the softness of the bread and the turkey or whatever. But I think the most appealing aspect is the salty aspect because kind of not the turkey has a distinct flavor, but when you add that,
Yeah.
the crunchy, salty chip, next level.
I gotta try
Yeah.
that out too. Yeah, I gotta give both these sandwiches a whirl, and I'll send you guys Chipotle mayo. We'll
Oh,
just-
dude,
Chipotle
I've got
mayo
it.
is good.
I've got Chipotle mayo. Yeah.
Oh, you guys
I
do?
like it.
Okay, cool.
I definitely have. I almost never go normal mayo anymore. Like the little
Oh,
spicy
really?
mayos are good. Yeah, Tabasco. We have Tabasco and then Tapatio mayo
Nice.
here, which are both good.
I sometimes use like avocado oil mayo, and it just has like a different flavor to it. And I it's one of those things where it's like, am I really being healthier here? Like, is that
Probably
like it's,
not, but
It's
who
mayo,
cares?
man. Like, I don't know what. Like,
It's whipped lard. How
Yeah.
fucking like how much seasoning can you add to whipped lard to make it suddenly healthy? None.
yeah,
it doesn't-
right. Like,
Unless you remove the whipped lard.
and then you pay a premium because you think you're doing something healthy. I mean, they got me hook, line, and sinker on that shit.
Right.
All right. Yeah, as always with our intro, also, you guys can get early access to the show. Probably should have said this in the beginning, but you guys can get early access to the show through the Patreon. You can sign up there for $1. You get it every single Friday. You can also become a member. You'll get early access to the show that way. We also do a supplemental podcast every single Wednesday. We did a little bit of a mailbag this past week. Dustin wants to come on for Food Wars again, so I figured that's why I would, pop some questions about food here in the early going of the show. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into our news. So Bethesda is gonna sort of dominate the first two parts of our discussion here, because step number one is they have found themselves in a bit of a lawsuit, gentlemen. The following story comes from PCGamer.com. We're going to skim through it because I think each and every bit of detail here is important. In December of 2019, so this is somewhat dated, but we'll all understand why exactly the story has popped up again. Rune 2 publisher Ragnarok Games sued the original developer Human Head Studios, alleging that Human Head had attempted to destroy the game by very publicly abandoning it on launch day and then refusing to turn over the source code and assets so another developer could take over the job. Quote, "We could have transitioned the game if they weren't able to participate anymore. We could have transitioned naturally. Here's the source code. We'll help you find somebody," executive producer Matt Candler told PC Gamer in June of 2020. But they didn't do that. They actually did everything they could to prevent us from supporting the product. The lawsuit has now been amended, and it will include ZeniMax Media and Bethesda Softworks, who were recently acquired, of course, by Microsoft. That day that Human Head went out of business, it had its entire team reassembled as Roundhouse Studios, and Bethesda had absorbed them. Human Head's initial Roundhouse announcement implied that the studio had reached out to Bethesda after the decision to close had been made. But the updated complaint says Bethesda was an active participant in the effort to torpedo Rune 2 and another game called Oblivion Song, and had begun conspiring with Human Head in late 2019 of the summer. Quote, "In an act of utter bad faith and contractual breach of confidentiality requirements, Human Head secretly provided Bethesda and ZeniMax with keys that permitted it to play a confidential pre-release version of Rune 2. This enabled Bethesda and ZeniMax to see for themselves the threat that Rune 2 posed to their hit franchise Skyrim / The Elder Scrolls. Plaintiffs were never informed of this betrayal," end quote, the lawsuit states. 2 weeks prior to the launch of Rune 2, ZeniMax secretly formed a new subsidiary, Roundhouse Studios LLC, and used the company to purchase all of Human Head's equipment and take over its leases. That equipment contained plaintiffs' trade secrets, the source code, and materials for Rune 2 and Oblivion Song. In that same... Hello. My article has completely blanked out here. What in the world? Well, I get that up. Gentlemen, what do you think so far? Because I've read a decent amount at this point.
I feel like I'm on a roller coaster right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't even my internet. This is like PC Gamer, because it's like I'll show the camera. It's literally just like white. Like it's just, there's nothing there. And then all of a sudden the text will come back. So, all right, you guys are on a roller coaster right now. What do you make of them assuming that Bethesda did this because they saw it as a threat to the Elder Scrolls?
I'm trying to watch gameplay right now of this game.
I have, and it ain't a threat.
It doesn't. Yeah, that's what I was thinking as I was like, this doesn't seem like that.
All right. With those early impressions out there, let's continue to go ahead and read. We still got a couple paragraphs left. ZeniMax took control of Human Head's employees and assets on November 4th, after which it ordered them to halt development of Rune 2 and Oblivion Song, according to the complaint. It further alleges that ZeniMax took project lead Christopher Reinhardt, Rune 2's creative heart and soul, out of action on launch day by sending him on a 2-day business trip to Texas, and that Bethesda and ZeniMax were the actual authors of the press release announcing the closure of Human Head the day after Rune 2 came out. The lawsuit against Bethesda and ZeniMax argues that the companies were eager to sink Rune 2 because of the threat it poses to the Elder Scrolls series. One early review of Rune 2 described it as Skyrim on steroids, the suit says. The hit video game Skyrim is part of Bethesda's Elder Scrolls franchise and was developed and published by Bethesda and its affiliates. This review signaled to Bethesda and ZeniMax that one of their biggest cash cows was under threat. Interestingly, the lawsuit also indicates that Human Head was in buyout talks with other companies prior to its acquisition by ZeniMax, who wanted Ragnarok Game involved in the process and would have allowed it to continue working on Rune 2. ZeniMax was the only prospective acquisition partner that required secrecy and would not permit further development, work, or on Rune 2 or Oblivion Song, end quote. The lawsuit seeks compensatory damages of no less than $100 million, plus restitution for development costs, punitive damages, attorney's fees, and other penalties. A representative for Bethesda has declined to comment on the matter. Okay. Boys, what do we, now with that whole essay vomit out of the way, what do we make of Bethesda getting sued? Because a review called it Skyrim on steroids, and they're using that as justification to call it a threat, and that Bethesda may have absorbed some trade secrets. For those who don't know, Rune 2 is a third-person, it looked semi-open world game that released on the Epic Game Store in 2019. Now, currently, it is releasing on Steam next month, called the Rune 2 Decapitation Edition. And it is a game that does not, in my humble opinion, look great. But that is just my 2 cents. Gentlemen, how do you feel about all of this?
Turkey.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, I was gonna say since you have experience with Rune 2, I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I have actually had a bit, and okay, so if it does appear suspicious, and I said this earlier when this news first popped, that they suddenly magically elevated this lawsuit when Microsoft and Bethesda made their marriage, and now it's 100 million, whatever. You get all that. It just seemed like suspicious timing, and people might say that just seems like suspicious timing, but if you read that lawsuit, every single thing they said seems like suspicious stuff until you actually look at it and then try to decide, like, is it really? A lot of people who get broken up with don't want to, believe it's them, and it is. People say, oh, no, it's not you, it's me. I think in this situation, there's probably some of that, too, where they want to come up with reasons why all of these business decisions were made. Sometimes they just suck. There's some weirdness. I remember when this first happened, there was some weirdness with how, the company was dissolved and then assembled right away. But what's interesting about all this is all of that kind of stuff happened. It still doesn't really, a company can do what they want with who they, what companies they purchased and what people they've purchased. And so there's this odd thing of, it's like, oh yeah, we know that they own it and can do what they want, but here, what we believe it was like immoral. And that's that lawsuit, at least from what I read, was just that's what it read like, was an immoral attack. Like, you guys weren't nice. Instead of, there's a legal precedent for these things. For example, John Carmack got in trouble. I don't know if you guys remember, but when he left, what was the company he worked for prior? For Rage? Yeah, when he left id and went to Facebook, they sued him for supposedly taking some code. And it took a while to prove, but they had very specifics. Hey, here's what we think, blah, 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 right? You have these specifics. All the Rune 2 lawsuit is like, hey, we feel bad and we want you to feel bad because we think somebody did something bad. And until I see like some writing or something, how are you going to sue somebody for what might be occurring in their head? Like, what might have happened in somebody's head when they did something? I mean, none of the business steps they took are illegal. So, I don't know. It just seems like a mess. It feels like mommy and daddy fighting kind of thing. And it's like, as the child involved, I don't know if I can say I would ever know what the truth was. It's going to be hard for a judge if it gets that far. Try to figure out, but my say.
To my understanding, so wait, I'm trying to remember what you said at the beginning. Like, they increased the amount after.
Yeah, they increased they started adding in companies, and I believe they increased the amount after the Microsoft Bethesda thing was announced. You would have to check that to be sure, but that's what it appeared had actually occurred, was that it had like altered when more people came in, which then it was a little suspect in and of itself, but not a huge thing.
like it's a possibility that it's like, oh,
It is.
well, bigger companies that have more
Right.
money are involved, so let's see what we can do.
Because a lot of people don't realize that with Microsoft, though they've won a ton of lawsuits, they have lost some, and they are known for occasionally just being like, let's just pay it and get it done with.
Well, yeah,
And
when they have so much money,
Right.
just fuck it, spend
Instead
it,
of going
and
into
move
like
on.
some long term, yeah, and just be like, it'll cost us less to do this than having lawyers, fight,
Right.
even if we're right. So I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of fascinating that they had this opened in December of last year and then happened to amend it a little bit after a Bethesda acquisition where a company paid $7.5 billion for them, where it's like, hey, $100 million, it's not that much to you now, is it? It's one of those things where I thought it was just completely suspect based off of that. I think it's also quite presumptuous to assume anything is a threat to Elder Scrolls. Like the only thing I could think of, I said this in a video, that could be a threat to Elder Scrolls might be The Witcher, but nothing is a big enough threat to wipe out Elder Scrolls. It's always just big enough to join the space with Elder Scrolls because ES has been around for decades, and Skyrim is still one of the most played games. Like, what do these companies think is going to happen? You move into their apartment building. You don't knock it over and set up your own.
Right.
Nothing about this game screams Elder Scrolls killer to me. Like I'm trying to find, even if it was twice as good as the gameplay I'm seeing now, that's not it.
Oh, and that does remind me, Dustin, one of the other things that was brought up is the review ruling. That'll be thrown out because that means nothing. If somebody said something's good, legally, that means absolutely nothing. They're a third person. It has nothing to do with the actual, it'll be moot. Like that, there's nothing about that that's legal, stating somebody else said, and that's what we hinged on. Because either you say, okay, you're hinging on that, and then they just go look at the other person, what they've covered before. Like it's dirty. It's just sort of nasty.
Well, I did a quick Google search, and I think they're referring to this article from videogamer.com called Rune Ragnarok trailer looks like Skyrim on steroids.
There it is.
So that quote is an impression of a trailer. That's just a quick Google search, but
it's the same quote.
That is some drawn, lines that you would never expect there, in my opinion. Like, come on, it's an impression of a trailer.
Be legal papers as well.
Right.
If those are true legal papers, and that's in the paper where it says one thing and it's not, that gets thrown out. Like people just be like, all right, well, we're done. Like you can't even get your shit done.
So wait, okay. In that PC Gamer article, it literally says, quote, one early review of Rune 2 described it as Skyrim on steroids. That's not true. Because as far as I can tell, that's a headline of a impression of a trailer. That's not a review. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. And if anyone listening to this knows that review or what that's talking about, please write in and correct us next week. But as far as I can tell, that is grasping at straws, like bad.
That shows that there's weakness in the foundation of their original argument.
I just checked. Yeah, that is how it went. So technically, that's most likely that'll get thrown out, or it'll require amendment of a pretty big type. And the problem is once you call into, and we'll probably talk about this at some other time, but once you call into question like the basic source at the starting of these steps, anything after is also called into question. And so it lids even more for people being like, is this all true? And it reminds me of Take Two or not Take Two. Hey, who is Dennis Dyack? Did Too Human, and he sued Epic for supposedly not giving him the proper engine version to make his game. It went for Shining in the Darkness on the N64 was his big magnum opus. And then he did Too Human for the Xbox 360. It was a Viking techno futuristic game. Looked a little like a BioWare game.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in GameStop when I first got my 360.
And they had a huge lawsuit that lasted years, and it basically turned out, it was just dirty and nasty. And at the end was he said, she said,
Yeah, dude, it's amazing because now this, you throw that out the window, and now it boils down to the absorption of trade secrets.
Yeah.
Which they're acting, in tech, it makes a little bit more sense because you look at that and go, like, hey, this is the foundation of a lot of great technology. I don't see Ragnarok game having something that Bethesda would extremely desire so much that they would steal it. Be like, let's reuse this for ourselves. We need this. Like, I don't know, man. What the fuck even is a trade secret in game development? Right? Like, especially when Bethesda's got their own engines, even if people don't like it much.
It just works. Why would they need to steal when it just works?
It does.
Never want to hear that again. And I say it too, which is even worse.
What's bad, Karak, is you're about to. Because in our next news bit, we're talking about Fallout 76, which has indeed just been working along here. It's gaining a little bit of steam here. There's a new update coming to Fallout 76 by the name of Steel Dawn. Today, Friday, October 23rd, to celebrate the Great War date, they dropped a brand new trailer. I'd like to note, as someone who's been in the Fallout community for a while, this is the first time I can recall that Bethesda actually on the Great War Day revealed something new. It's something fans have always asked for a while. This is the first time I can think of where they actually did this. We did know that Steel Dawn would be coming at some point in time. It was on their roadmap. But anyway, I have the Bethesda Net article up. We're going to go ahead. We're going to tab through it here. And I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this because, 76 is picking up a little bit of steam here. I think it's an interesting game to talk about nowadays. Ad Victoriam. The Brotherhood of Steel is planning to return to Appalachia this December with our Steel Dawn update for Fallout 76. Led by Paladin Romani, this Brotherhood's outfits objectives currently remain unclear. However, they will certainly be looking to you for a debrief on the current state of the Appalachia and to lend a helping hand with their endeavors. You will learn much more about the Brotherhood as you take on a variety of new quests that are coming with the Steel Dawn update, but that is only the beginning. You will be able to explore the story further in 2021 with even more Brotherhood of Steel quests that we are planning to release with future updates. Along with the new quests, the Steel Dawn update will bring new NPCs, new locations, and new gear to the game. It will also add features like camp shelters, a host of rewards including weapons, armor, and camp plans, the return of the holiday Scorched seasonal event, and a variety of additional gameplay improvements. If you own a copy of 76 through Bethesda Net, you can head to the PTS, the public test server, right now to join them in play testing and sharing feedback on everything mentioned above. So, gentlemen, 76 getting more quests, more NPCs, what people wanted. A lot of folks are responding positively to this. The Brotherhood of Steel has been added to the game. I got to ask, and I know this may be a stupid question at first, but between Wastelanders, now they have this score system in the game, which allows you to get, daily rewards. So there is some degree of an end game here for Fallout 76. They've added a little more recurrent content. And then you've got now Steel Dawn coming this December. Have you guys ever considered popping into 76 whatsoever? I know I'm a little more involved in that space, so I do have a more vested interest to head back. But has anything I've read or anything you've seen kind of encouraged you to go back into this game, see what's changed, what's developed at all? Whoever would like to go first. Whoever's feeling hungry to talk.
Yeah, so what's interesting is that through playing Outer Worlds, I was thinking about Fallout quite a bit while I was playing it because I was just kind of comparing and contrasting in my mind. And I was actually thinking, I'm like, obviously Fallout 76 at launch, everyone knows, not a good situation. And so I had played some of the beta, and then at launch I was like, this is not for me right now. Maybe later. And that's something I've always kept an open mind to. And now that it's starting to get better, I'm becoming more interested, especially because it's on Game Pass. So it's like there's nothing to lose. Like it's not going to cost me anything above my already established subscription. But I don't know if 76 would scratch the itch of what I like about Fallout. Like, I don't know. I personally never really wanted a multiplayer Fallout game. I know that a lot of people did, but that's never what the elements I enjoy about Fallout would not be enhanced by having other people involved. So I am more interested, but I will say that I'm glad that Bethesda is not only just not abandon the game, because we've seen other companies do that recently, like Anthem, which I don't know. Supposedly they're going to relaunch it, but I'm getting more weary that will ever happen. Personally, I think that game's done.
Can't blame you for that.
Yeah. So, I mean, good on them for not only working to make it better, but specifically listening to the feedback of what fans want. I'm not as tuned into the community as you are, because I know that there's been some shady monetization stuff, which to me it's just like, all right, you already pissed off the core people that want to play this game, and now you're charging them for stuff. But wasn't there also a thing that the people that were like, we like what they've offered, right?
Yeah, there's people who have really argued with Fallout First, their subscription fee, that it's valuable to them because they play a lot of Fallout 76.
Right.
I just don't think it's an encouraging thing to buy into as someone who wanted to like Fallout 76. You know, I kind of enjoy it now because of Wastelanders, but I literally played Wastelanders and then dropped it. For me, I didn't want to hop in with the score system. I wanted to wait for something like this to come around to kind of compel me to jump back in. But I still have yet to see anything that makes me want to buy into it. In fact, it's frustrating. When I went back, I was playing with Kev Do It, and he had this thing that gave him unlimited storage. And one of the game's biggest issues is storage space, man. Like, it's having enough room for all the junk you collect, all the materials you collect, all the weapons and legendaries you collect, and having a place to put them. And, like, if you're paying that monthly fee, you got that. But if you're not...
Yeah, it's like they designed the game, and the most annoying feature, or we'll say the most annoying problem, is fixed through a paid subscription. It's like, you designed it improperly. Now you're paying for us to fix it. Yeah, that's what the impression I'm getting from what you're saying.
Yeah, because like, here's the thing is, I know there will be people in the comments who tell me that's not the game's worst issue. There's X, Y, and Z. For me, when I played it, you know, I eventually ran out of space. I reorganized it 18 times. And let's be honest, you don't want to do that constantly. You don't want to constantly fight with your storage space, even though they have increased it over time through patches since the game had launched. It started off at like 400, and I think it's upwards of 900 now. So there is a lot more storage space there, but it still eventually runs out. And like, now knowing, oh, you could just have unlimited, but people have to pay for it. I don't know. I feel like everything else in there, I really didn't care that was in there. I really didn't think it was like the worst thing in the world. I just thought the idea that when they pitched, you know, last year, hey, let's sell this to people, I thought that was inherently stupid in its own right. But really what was within it, this was the worst one, was the storage space thing. And I mean, my mind's slipping on what else that they may have even put in there. I know one had to do with like food. They've had a history of walking back on some of the shit they've done with monetization, which would be swallowing some of that to go back into the game. Like, for example, they used to sell a fridge in the Atom shop, the Atomic shop. And that fridge you would put in your camp, and you could put any food, any drink in there, and it wouldn't go bad. And part of the game is survival mechanics, but you would have to pay $8 for that to get it through the Atomic shop, which is just, that's fucking ridiculous, man. Like, they have these opportunities to give you stuff for free. I'm not asking for everything for free, because they have, like, this Steel Dawn is apparently free. Wastelanders was free. They do give you free content, and a lot of it. So I do understand, and I know you've said this before, Dustin, so I'm kind of just like repeating what you say, but I understand that they need to make money, and you need to put something compelling there that's not skins. But I don't know. I just feel like anytime they have a chance to be like, here, we fixed this thing for you, a lot of the times it comes with a price tag. It's really strange, because a lot of their core audience will buy it. But I mean, long-winded answer to what you were asking. Sorry about that.
I think Bethesda Game Studios is an arrogant company overall, and I think that's one of the things that shows it. I mean, they never really apologized for what happened with 76, did they? You're more tuned into this, Maddie.
I just
remember that E3.
Yeah,
he was like, we made some mistakes with 76, and we're fixing it. It's like, no, sorry that the game was fucking broken for so many people at launch. No apology for that. Like, it's one of those things that's like, sometimes a little humility from a company like that can go a long way. It's not like if you apologize, then you're completely rolling over. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I would say real quick, just because my phone will blare the audio through the microphone, look up Todd Howard at E3 2019, because he does come out on the stage, and it is one of the first thing he addresses. Because everyone, I remember that was a big conversation beforehand on my channel. Like, everyone was like, how exactly does Bethesda, address the elephant in the room? Because the game really wasn't rolling. It only started rolling this year, I'd say. This was the first year of, I'd say, good PR for 76. It hasn't really made negative headlines. It's just sort of added to the game. It's done the right moves. Game Pass was a great move. I think it bolstered its player base, because you've got those things where if I'm paying for Game Pass, it is a lot easier to say I'll spend $8 on this refrigerator. But when you pay for the game and then you have to pay that $8 on top, I think it's a little more difficult. But between that and some of their content updates, I felt like they've been on the right road. Dustin, while you look that up, Karak,
yeah, I'm watching it now.
Have you ever felt compelled at all to leap into 76 whatsoever, or interested by anything that's circulated about the game?
Yeah, recently we jumped in as a group in the Discord. It lasted about 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
That was more because I just was like, it was probably more of a feeling than the game, because 15 minutes isn't long enough, obviously. I don't think that's fair. I think that all this stuff is great. It doesn't get away from the one issue that they have, which Microsoft also had with Master Chief, which is that they let it get to this spot, in the first place, which that'll be the thing that I remember. I don't have an issue with them saying, as long as they come out and they say, hey, we're aware, blah, 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 we're trying to fix it. I agree that it's much better that they're not ignoring it, moving on, to a different game. I just don't know. One of the problems that happens with a lot of gamers is they start to wonder what the next is. What's the next thing? And I think what happens with Fallout 76 is it like, do you polish the turd or take another shit? Like, do you polish the turd or do you try again? And I think at some point you do have to look at this and say, do we try again? Because I agree with Dustin. I never wanted an MMO Fallout. Never. But I did want, by the way, a co-op Fallout. I have always wanted a up to 4-player co-op. I thought it would be awesome to explore with a couple friends as a squad or as a group of survivors. I thought that would be ingenious and much better than an MMO with its ludicrous number of problems, which, by the way, they ran into.
It's like a next gen update. It's just
exactly. Look at the shit that they had to deal with just with PvP. And it's like, well, our bullets won't hurt your, if you're doing this. It's like they had so many problems trying to figure out how to do everything. You could tell that it was like, is this the way we should be going? Plus they had the technical issues on. So yeah, man. It's cool, but I'm so far past it now. Like, I will never look back at Fallout 76 with anything other than a nod that it existed and then no further interest, no matter really what they said. I can't see. I think it's cool that they're adding stuff, but I can't see any ad making me jump in. Even though yours, when you did do the discussion and the streams for the new update that added people, was interesting. But then the moment I got interested in it, people were saying, well, actually, I can't remember what it was. Those people run out after a little while, or they don't show up until later. It was one of those two. For there's the Outsiders. Is that what it's called?
Wastelanders? You mean the
Wastelanders?
The update? Yeah.
Did they do it where the people are right away you see them, or is it where you don't see them for a while? I can't remember.
It depends on where you start, because you have to hit level 20 to unlock it. So technically speaking, you are not really encountering them. They did overhaul. I'll give them credit on this, and I mentioned in my review.
They did overhaul the starting quests and stuff, right?
They overhauled the starting quests. They overhauled the wasteland in general in the sense of putting people in locations that it made sense, but it was very scarce. So there was this Morgantown airport. You would go in there, you'd go through this whole area of monsters and stuff, and there'd be one person there. And you'd have those little things there. That's why Steel Dawn, I think, is exciting, because now you have another meaty update that is going to fill that out a little bit more. And as more people, what I think you're going to see is going to happen with this game is you're going to have folks like us who did go in around launch or a little bit after launch, and be like, what are these people talking about who are going in through Game Pass or buying in now or buying in with Steel Dawn, and seeing how much more full the world is and going like, whoa, this game is good now. So you're going to gradually, I think, over the next, I would say the next year, you're going to start to see people saying like, hey, this game's actually good now. Like, I feel it's going to have a little more dramatic shift in conversation because one person's starting point is so different than another's at this time now. It's so, and it could just bomb, right? Like, that's the other reality. But I truly feel like the conversation's going to start shifting on the game. So that'll be interesting.
I think
to
the
watch
problem
unfold.
is that the conversation shifted, but how do you get the PR to pretend like it's a brand new game, which is impossible now?
That's
there's
what
too many
Wastelanders
titles
kind of
now.
was, because they did a relaunch with that. They
They did
sold
do a
copies,
relaunch, right?
with
I remember that.
So,
Yeah.
and that kind of helped, right? Like having at this point in the game's life, having, when I last looked, like 7,000, 8,000
Soft
concurrent players
relaunch.
on Steam.
That's
is
not bad.
It's not really. I mean, and that's, like I said, we're not thinking of Game Pass there, which I'm sure you have equal to or greater than that number. So I think they're in a better spot than a lot of people realize. And plus, it's such a cheap buy-in. You can get it for like $5, $10, easy. It's funny. I actually saw this tweet. It's so true. It said Fallout 76 makes anything it's attached to cheaper. And like you saw a Yeti microphone for like $80. And then you saw the same Yeti microphone, but it said like comes with Fallout 76 and it was like $50. Like it was amazing, man. It actually took money off the product because it was so unattractive. It's amazing, man. But yeah,
I mean,
Steel Dawn, man.
I just don't. I've never heard of a game other than like WoW, and it already had success day one. No Man's Sky, I guess, where a game has come along and like repaired itself to the point to where it's like a new release. I just don't see Fallout 76 doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great, but I just don't see it doing it.
I'll be curious to see what they do with the next gen version. I think that'll be kind of the next step, because performance was one of the biggest things. My editor, Josh, actually used footage from an old 76 video of mine in a recent video, and I was watching it. I was like, because I was talking about 76 and I was watching how like fucking shitty that game ran at launch.
Yeah.
I was like, holy smokes, man. Like, I think a lot of people would just be happy to see the game performing well on a console. Because yeah, like I went back on PS4 for Wastelanders and it did run better, but it still wasn't like the silky smooth you'd sort of want and hope for. But my theory was always that like Bethesda would do a special edition for Fallout 4, because you know how they did Skyrim special edition because they were testing the new technology for PS4 and Xbox One, and then they just kind of resold it because Skyrim was their latest release at that point in time. So I was thinking, what if they're doing that now, Fallout 4, and they're putting that onto new consoles and they're going to go ahead and like ship a co-op mode with it? That'd be wild. But I think that would inherently hurt 76. That'd be cool to see though. But yeah, big update coming to Fallout 76 in December, no less, which is kind of a good time of year, I think, to launch it, where a lot of big games are going to be out and about and already discussed and done with, maybe outside of Cyberpunk. I think that'll remain relevant for a while. But I think pretty much this is a good, safe area for 76 to drop its biggest update onto. And so I'm going to probably be looking forward to hopping in and playing it for some December content. So do look forward to that. But gentlemen,
real quick, Maddie, I got the update on the video.
Yes, please do. Sorry, I almost forgot about that.
So as far as I can tell, because I just watched part of it, and it gave me flashbacks to that event, because they had a bunch of idiots in the crowd like screaming and going nuts.
Oh, yeah, that was
a big issue. I remember that. I forgot about that.
Which, anyway, that's not the point. The point is, I was listening to it, and Todd Howard says, we had a lot of problems at launch. Pretty close to that is what he says. And we got a lot of well-deserved criticism, but we're working. And then he goes on to talk about what they're doing to fix it. So it's an acknowledgement.
That's a better acknowledgement than we usually hear.
That's true. I will say that. Yeah.
I mean, I agree that they're egotistical, but for an egotistical company, that's a good acknowledgement. And even for a non-egotistical company, that's still a pretty good acknowledgement. I think other than Sony, and that wasn't Sony, it was Jack Tretton apologizing for the hack. You don't have them apologize, right? Right. For example, is Microsoft going to apologize for Bleeding Edge or whatever the fuck that shooter is that came and went?
Oh my God, that really
they didn't sell Bleeding Edge though as 16 times the detail.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, are they going to? And they're not as egotistical. That's just other than their 4 fucking quad A games that they keep talking about. They're 4A games that don't exist. Are we gonna, like, what is the requirement for these companies coming and shaming themselves in front of us and bowing? And to me, it's like, I get it. Like, Todd stood up. Todd's the one, by the way, too. He didn't make somebody else do it. He didn't do a community. At least he was there doing it. Because we do see that sometimes, too, where, like, a company head will go out there and apologize. Will go out there and sell the game. And then if the game doesn't do well, it's like some poor podunk writing a fucking community forum, right? And he knows he's going to get the shit beat out of him on his little public forum where he's like, we've decided to fit. And he's probably just shitting his pants. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty good for them. Like I said, Todd going out there, I've always felt that, like, I mean, Todd wants to do those things well, but maybe those guys need to look and say, we're doing too many things at the same time. I still feel that that's how Fallout 76 came around. And somebody should have looked at that and said, how are we doing this? How is this being released? They're a big enough company, they could have eaten that, by the way, guys. Don't we all agree? They could have eaten that without any issues.
Cancel it, you mean?
Yeah, they could have been like, this is not ready. We're delaying it for 2 years, silently canceled it, whatever. But they didn't.
They did the exact opposite. They pulled they did somewhat of a bait and switch. Basically, that this wasn't the main team that made it, but at that E3 they wheeled out Todd Howard with lighting effects and like, if you look back at it now, it's so odd. Like, he comes out of the tunnel and they have a bright light in the background, and there he is to show off, it just works Fallout 76 with 16 times the detail. And I
don't agree with this, but I got to ask you, do you feel the same way then towards Phil Spencer coming out and trying to sell Halo? And then we see what it looks like, and people were like, what the fuck? Like, in a way, I feel like, I was going to say, I just feel like they're identical in a weird way.
I feel like all these spokesperson or all these spokespeople for these products are kind of like, for a lot of consumers, a means to the end. Like, as long as you're cool, you're one of them, like, they're good with you. But the second you kind of do them wrong, like, people wouldn't hesitate to throw Phil Spencer under a bus the second he fucks you over. Like,
absolutely.
Same thing with Todd. Same thing with anyone from PlayStation.
As reviewers, we know that, right? Who's your best friend when your review agrees with what they say? A watcher. When you don't agree, very, very few can put that aside and say, I mean, we do get it. I certainly don't want to make it sound like I don't get a bunch of people saying, we don't agree, but I totally am okay with most of the time you don't get that,
Yeah. Fascinating to watch unfold. All right.
At least those guys have gainful employment, though, right? I mean, that entire studio is still working on that, right? They haven't moved on, have they? Or have they? Has that studio, have they slimmed down since that was initially announced?
What studio?
Released?
Sorry, what
That's
studio
Bethesda,
for Fallout.
Austin. Well,
yeah, have they slimmed down, or are they the same, or what's going on there?
I know, if anything, it's probably got bigger in the sense of support studios, because they still have Dallas focusing on it. I know the project lead does work out of the Maryland studio, so I think it's more like a corporation-wide thing across multiple studios. Because I know when they were making the game, it was like a all hands on deck thing. Like, that's what I had heard. Like, everyone, like Arcane, Tango, like Bethesda Game Studios, like everyone, it was Austin's project, but everyone was in on this game, which is all the more crazy why it flopped, because it came out but it just goes to show how destined it was not to work.
So did they have everybody join in when they realized, like, oh shit?
Yeah, when they realized there were issues. I remember there were a bunch of like leaks about everybody's hands on deck.
It's just what's so confusing to me is that, like,
how they got there.
Well, that they released it anyway in that state. I think that's the thing. And obviously they're not the only ones that are guilty of doing things like that. Obviously we saw that a ton at the beginning of this generation. Not so much as much recently, but that's the thing that I'm always like, you had every studio working at the same time, and I guess they were just like, well, this is as good as it gets for now without delaying the game.
Yeah.
Like they knew.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying, is like they had enough money also to eat it, which is even more surprising that they didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
They still made a lot of money on it.
They did. It sold well. So it is one of those situations where it's kind of interesting to watch how it all unfolded. But yeah, now it's definitely like shrunk down in the sense of it is just like a couple of teams maintaining it. Like Maryland is 100% all in on Starfield. Like that is a thing. So it is one of those situations where for those who are just more concerned about that and Elder Scrolls 6, that is their next step. They're just maintaining, but it's not like, for example, Maryland's not helping at all with 76. That is a thing indeed, but it's more so Austin and Dallas, and I think Roundhouse is assisting as well. They have so many support studios now. They absorbed another one like 2 years ago, and then that was Bethesda Game Studios Dallas. They absorbed, I think it was Battle Cry Studios, and then like rebranded them or something. So it's just interesting to watch it all unfold. All right, here we go. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. Yeah. So I talked about this a little bit in Extra Slice of Ham, so I'll probably be quiet during this part. But I wanted to put it in here, obviously, to hear from Dustin, but also, Karak, I saw you tweet it out. So I'm going to go ahead and read this article here from IGN, and then I pass it to you, gentlemen. So Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 has lost another senior developer after its narrative lead, Brian Mitsoda, and creative director Kai Clooney left the project earlier this year. In a statement issued to PC Gamer, Paradox Interactive noted that Bloodline 2's senior narrative designer, Kara Ellison, has left developer Hardsuit Labs. Quote, "We can confirm that Kara Ellison has decided to leave Hardsuit Labs and is no longer working on Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. Kara brought fresh ideas to the project, and many of her contributions will be present in the game launching next year. We thank her for her work on Bloodlines 2 and wish her the best in all her future endeavors," end quote. Many had surmised that Ellison had left the project after she removed references to Bloodlines 2 from her bio and announced on Twitter that she had started working for the Australian studio behind Armello, Legend of Geeks, as a senior narrative designer. It's not clear whether Ellison has simply completed her work on the project and is moving on to a new game, but major creative departures like this projects uncertainty, around the project itself, especially in light of the way Mitsoda and Clooney were unexpectedly, keyword there, dropped from Bloodlines earlier this year. Shortly before the departures were announced, the game was delayed into 2021, citing the quality bar and ambitions that they had set for themselves were the reason for the shift in release. So, gentlemen, whoever would like to go first, eat it all up.
Dude, this is what fucking happens, man. This is what fucking happens when people wait so long to do a sequel and they go and they try to grab all these fucking people from the old one. And I'm not saying Brian shouldn't have been grabbed, but and all this stuff gets together, but those people are accustomed to working on older titles, like the old style of title, where, by the way, Vampire got released in unacceptable form. If people think Fallout 76 was bad, you have absolutely no clue the hell I had to deal with Vampire the Masquerade, the first one, Bloodlines. It was a travesty. That game's only claim to fame is that fans fixed it, not the company. So, like, the first game did not release to some spectacular, polished fashion. Those guys, I don't get why I don't get why this even fucking happens. It's like they get the name and they just start running with it. And like Bloodlines, they shouldn't even have shown it. They should have been quiet about it, tried to figure out what was going on. Then the moment you show it, now there's expectations. And then there's also, I'm going to firmly say that we saw a bunch of videos of Cyberpunk around the same time that was also announced. And I think some people saw some of the combat, moments from Vampire and then also see, Cyberpunk. And those are both sort of that RPG heavy style title. And Vampire looked rough, man. And it looked rough, like rough. So it just doesn't surprise me that negativity. Huh?
Like Scooby-Doo rough?
Rough.
There you go.
Very
Scooby-Doo. Took a sack there,
yeah. You ever watch the old Scooby-Doos and ever notice when they come out of the mystery van, the smoke is rolling out to indicate they're smoking pot? I just find
really?
That I never caught that.
For
I
sure.
watched that show.
Yeah, there's multiple episodes in the old one, the original, where you would
I watched the original
smoke roll out because they're all. I mean, he's talking to a dog and they're always looking for treats. Like,
Yeah,
it's not that far. Like, they're always
you hear
hungry.
Shaggy's voice. He's like, "What's up, Scoop?"
But anyway, I'm not surprised, and it sucks. Werewolf is coming along by Cyanide. I'm a huge. This World of Darkness is probably my favorite D&D world of all time.
Mhm.
So you've got you've got Wraith. Not so a big a fan of. You've got Werewolf, looks to be more action packed, and this one, dude, this one's going up against the massive. It's going up against its own history, and it's going up against Cyberpunks, and you got to bring your A game, and they didn't. And I think those firings, by the way, if you look at the timing, she announced where she was going, then the company stated she had left. What that usually indicates is somebody has been released, and they're told, we won't say you're fired. You can do whatever you want, announce it the way you want, and it's not a completely hostile. It's just, this is not working. When we would let somebody go at our job, it'd be like, take your time, do whatever you need to do, get it all set up, do your Facebook stuff, do your whatever, take a while, figure out what you're doing, and then when that's all happened, we'll release the HR letter. That's like, want to wish so-and-so well. Greeting card shit that we always see, right? It's so funny too when you read it out loud. It sounds so HR.
Yeah, I know. One thing I do want to interject here that I had read about in a comment and did a little further research on was that Bloodlines 2 was accused of microtransactions or loot boxes at some time during its development because they were implementing some type of revenue system. But the idea is that there will be expansions for the game, and you will get the expansion clans, which is the clans are like a major part of Bloodlines.
They are a major part,
for free if you own the base game. And so I was just reading and perusing, and it seems like Paradox has this history of not doing microtransactions, but just lots of DLC. And so what
Paradox
I'm wondering,
is the worst company. Yeah.
What I'm wondering is if they kind of, you're seeing creative director Brian Mitsoda, who was like the heart of the original game.
Yep.
You're seeing now senior narrative designer, like story people, right? You're like, if this company says we want to break up your story and sell it later, and they're like, no, we don't want to do that, I feel like that might be the key component here to what may lead to some disgruntled employees. Because for sure with Brian and Kai, that was not expected. That was kind of like, there's a huge write-up on Facebook from Brian Mitsoda about, how he was just completely caught off guard by it, and he was just frustrated.
But that is why I would question what you were saying, Maddie, because I thought he was saying, from what I understand, he was saying everything was fine. He was completely surprised, which to me would indicate he didn't know that Paradox, was maybe bothered by him having issues with micros. Do you get what I mean?
Like it was a talk, hey, it's cool, and then they cut him off behind.
Well, there's either that or what you're talking about is something that like might be separate too. Like completely a separate, where the only reason I say that is because he was clear enough that I think if the microtransactions had been a thing, he would have hinted at it by stating, I didn't like the way the story was going to be delivered. You know what I mean? Like there's that little, and since there isn't any, I'm just wondering. But yeah, dude,
perhaps,
I don't know. I don't have any clue what's even going on there, but I just have this feeling it's done. But I'm hoping I'm wrong.
Perhaps I imagine the core game is done story-wise, and that their next step with the DLC is where they're like, okay, your road ends here. We need someone who's going to give us like supplemental stories to tell, almost.
Right.
That'd be my assumption there, which is a very cutthroat business move if that's the case.
I mean, that also does happen. Things can be really like cutthroat. Like, okay, you're done, and instead of telling him, I just don't know. Paradox seems a little lost. And you're absolutely right, by the way. Paradox has a huge problem with DLC. They are by far one of the worst companies for like making the game feel a little cut up. I'm looking here at Brian, just so you know, because I wanted to see something.
Go for it.
He did that, right? He also did Dead State, a turn-based RPG game developed with the aid of indie company Iron Tower. That Dead State was released 2014, some numerous free updates. Released a book, worked for In Exile as a writer on Torment, so Tides of Numenera, one of the worst named games in the world.
Yeah, I hate that.
2013 was when he was, and 14 was when he was working on Torment, right? Right after that, he goes to Vampire the Masquerade. 2015 is when he started writing. His narrative leave in 2020, he was fired. So 5 years? Yeah, that's a lot of writing having been done. Yeah, you might be right. There might be something.
Could be. It's just speculation, but
Yeah. It's hard to know.
Tell me if I'm correct about this, just because I'm doing some research while you guys have been chatting. So this game is being developed by a company called Hardsuit Labs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hardsuit Labs only has 2 games listed on their website, and it's Bloodlines 2 and Blacklight, which is that free-to-play game that launched with PS4. Yes.
Oh my God, I remember that game.
Now, where this gets even more interesting is that they rebranded themselves, and they used to be called Zombies Studio. And boy, looking at the list of games they've developed, not a good track record. In fact, I'm guessing that track record is why they rebranded themselves, because they wanted to have a fresh start. Because like stuff in here, like the Saw games, Daylight in 2014, Frogger Hyper Arcade Edition. So to me, it's the situation with this game is you have, who developed the original Bloodlines?
Oh boy, Santa Monica. Hold on, I'll have to double check that.
Either way, is this studio the type of studio that you give? I mean, not that Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines was like this. Like, I mean, was it? I feel like there's not a huge following behind that game. But
No, Vampires is massive, bro.
It is?
Like, scary massive. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 has a scary freak. Like, if you look at even a tweet, like I would do, I'll get like 10 times the normal number of people.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, well, and it's still supported by fans today for patches.
Then that makes this even more puzzling if you have the potential for doing a sequel, since there's such a big fan base.
Why they choose them?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, other than
that was brought up, by the way, by
Troika
Kotaku.
Did the original?
Yeah. Oh, Troika. By the way, Dustin, though, Troika was worse.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so that's the problem. Both of those companies, Troika and these guys, both had issues with their bugging. But Troika released consistently buggy games. They released a very good RPG. But yeah, I agree with Dustin. Like, I've never, and I believe it was Kotaku or Polygon who did articles like, why did this company get it of all the companies?
Right.
But I think the explanation would most likely be, it's that company name and we've hired multiple people to work. You know, I don't remember the old PR speech, but yeah, I would agree. So it's a weird combo.
2 other interesting things is that the Zombie Studios, who is now, I already forgot the name of the studio making whatever, they made the America's Army Special Forces game in 2003, which I remember playing that because I got it for free at the mall. That game. Oh, was it? I mean, I don't remember. I just remember getting it for free and being excited about a free game.
Yeah, it was like a RTS, and you could have way crazy actual but I like Arma. You know, so
right? Dude, I used to love Operation Flashpoint.
Dude,
when I was a kid.
It's so good. People cannot understand why I like it because it's the Dark Souls of shooters. I'm just gonna say,
yeah.
But Arma Operation is what got me started as a YouTube channel, because I started out doing Arma. Once Operation Flashpoint moved to Arma, I started making mod and like how to make a quick fun level in their editor. That was my first couple videos, was like, hey, you know, here's how to make a quick, because their editor, you could throw a fucking mission together in like 7 seconds.
Dude,
you'd be like, throw some guys down.
That mission editor, I mean, listen, when Operation Flashpoint came out, I was a wee lad, like real little. So I was terrible at the main levels. I could never beat them because I was playing a military sim when I was in first grade.
Right.
But I would go into the level editor and make stupid little missions because it was like in depth, but also simple enough that a first or second grader could
Yeah.
whip something together. So anyway,
So good. So good.
Maddie, I opened up an incognito window on Chrome, went to YouTube and searched Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. You have the second video
There we go.
suggested to me.
Hey.
It's the one
So-
covering what happened with Brian, right? Like the RPG in trouble, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that video
So
ended
there
up
you go.
doing pretty well. That's the beauty of content on YouTube. That video
Mhm.
started off at like 10K and it's built its way up to like 80, which is pretty cool.
Haha.
Right.
Couple this is interesting. So I just read something. Not only so Hardsuit Labs did sort of pop up surprisingly, but one of the reasons why it sounds like all this is coming together, because Paradox also is working with the tabletop games 5th edition to actually take some of the game parts and put it in the D&D game, and the D&D game to put it in the video game. And this was directly in like reaction to Troika trying to put too many things in the original game. Dude, I don't know if you guys realize what Troika did, but imagine Dragon Age Origins, the starting, right? You pick your elf, he's different than your dwarf. They have a starting, but the entire game is that way. I mean, if you were a Nosferatu, the way you traveled the world completely changed compared to everybody else because they couldn't be seen. So you had to use the sewers, where somebody else could fucking go up and
That's what
run
people
around
loved
on the
about it,
streets.
though. I remember playing that
what'd you
game.
say?
I said I thought that's what people really liked about it because I remember
We liked it.
Yeah.
Troika was having issues developing it, so the fans had to fix it with a patch, is what I'm saying. So
my bad.
they sort of wanted to get in day one with so that it sounds like Hardsuit also may have some narrative writers from the D&D game. So
Interesting.
yeah, it doesn't explain away the odd pairing. I mean, maybe they gave him a chance. Maybe they just said, you know, what can you do? And they showed him something internally that looked good.
I'll be
I don't
curious
know.
to see, you know, how the game
cutscene.
releases. That's because I do want to play it, so I'll be very
me
curious
too.
to see what happens when it comes out.
And Chris Avallone, who originally wrote the original one, you know, he obviously wasn't writing this. That's another thing I would like to know is like where they're sourcing their writing, because Brian did some of it, but he's like game design as well and quest design. I want to know where some of the theme and overall writing, you know, is coming from. I guess it says Chris Avallone worked on it up until June 22 when he was released.
Think
Due
of this
to-
year.
This year, yeah,
Wow.
June 2020. Oh, Paradox confirmed. Oh, wow. Okay, something was. I think we may have just discovered something. Paradox confirmed any content that Chris Avallone had created or contributed to would be removed from the game.
Whoa.
Oh,
That is massive. So
that
there is
changes
also a
things.
chance that maybe that is a huge deal. Maybe there's also, you know,
It's a
maybe they
lot of
just wanted,
rewriting.
and maybe they didn't feel that Masato worked well by himself, or, you know, they wanted to go a different route. That is huge. I've never even heard of that before. That's like burning Bibles and shit. Wow.
That definitely does make a little more sense why it
Wasn't
would just get
Yakuza
stuck.
under the same thing, Maddie? Didn't a Yakuza guy do something with drugs in Japan?
Oh, for Judgment.
Yeah,
Judgment. The guy,
Judgment.
the actor
What
did
happened?
like cocaine, and I think they had someone else like redo all of his shit.
And that's why there was no karaoke, right? Wasn't that what it was? There was like no singing in that, and they
I
said the
actually-
reason why is they couldn't hire.
I think it was on the Japanese end. That much I know. Which I don't know if they dub that game. I never played it.
So what happened was they released the game in Japan, discs out, not out in the US. That dude does cocaine, and they're like,
Right.
"Fuck, we got to replace him." So they replaced him and patched him out of every copy. And this was really early on, and they're like, they fixed it to the point where the next pressing of discs removed him. So
Oh,
in
okay.
Japan, the first pressing of Judgment has the character as the original guy. That if you have that disc, you can see him in it, but any
I think that's
copy
a lot
after
of
that
money.
doesn't.
Man,
And then in
I
the
was
US,
just saying.
they just, never made it with him since it was well after the
Okay, that
Japanese
makes sense.
release. It's just, it's interesting to me when you have those situations where like there are copies of the game that he's in if you play it unpatched, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering
I
if
got
they're
to play
like
a
on eBay.
pirated. I got to play a pirated version of the Dreamcast game. What was it? It was basically like a Daytona, but you flew airplanes and you could crash into the World Trade Center.
Holy shit.
And Sega was like, it happened. Their development was occurring, and then that happened, and they were like, no, cut that game. We're just not even releasing it. And then it was found in a dumpster on a hard drive, and then got released, and a bunch of websites had it. And I think it might even be open, whatever the term is now. But yeah, it's on emulator sites, and I've checked it out. It's pretty wild to see the history of some of these games and what they've done.
Yeah. All right. We move on to our last bit of news, and then it's on to the patron questions. I don't even think this section will be long at all, but I still thought it was kind of surprising, and just goes to show how weird of a company Nintendo is. This article comes from Eurogamer. If you hopped on the Fire Emblem train with the release of 3 Houses last year, then you may be wondering, how did this all start out? Where did the blue-haired sword boys come from? The very first game in the series, Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, was initially made by Intelligent Systems and Nintendo as an internal project and was never intended for commercial release. Eventually, of course, it did see an official release and achieved unexpected commercial success in 1990, but the title was never released outside of Japan until now, that is, as a Western release has been announced for this December, but there's a catch. As detailed by Nintendo, Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon, and the Blade of Light, see Karak shaking his head, and the Blade of Light is set to release digitally on December 4th and is currently listed at €539. It promises classic gameplay and characters from the original NES version in their 8-bit glory to mark 30 years since the original game's release. That's all well and good, but the description says the game will only be available for a limited time, as Dustin just shakes his head. Nintendo recently announced a similar limited release for Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which can only be purchased from the eShop until the end of March 2021. And sure enough, the limited time period for Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light also ends on March 31st, 2021. We've had to wait 30 years for this game to release outside of Japan. It seems a shame that the release window has now been limited to only 4 months. At least this one doesn't cost nearly €50. All right, gentlemen, Nintendo's doing it again. They're doing another limited launch, this time with something that's worth like $5. And it's a game that has not been released to the West for 30 years. I know there have been, I think, like mod translations and people have like done it themselves. But on an official capacity, this is kind of a cool deal. It's kind of a big deal too. Now, I like Fire Emblem, but what do you make? I know the bulk of our conversation is going to be of this limited release. Not only that, but they also have a collector's edition, which I think is $50, and it doesn't come with the game at all. It is what we talked about with collector's editions, where it's everything but the game. So,
it looks
gentlemen,
like a cool collection, though. I'm looking at it now.
It does indeed.
Though I think it's already sold out everywhere. So if you wanted it,
of course, yep,
you're done.
Yep.
I don't know, dude. I mean, I think this was planned before Mario that it was going to be limited. So it's not like, oh, we got away with it with Mario, so we're going to do it again. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't even know. Like, there's nothing we can do about it. That's what I mean. As far as like, it's shitty. It sucks. People are going to buy the game anyway. So there's nothing we can do. It is a losing battle. And I'm part of the problem.
Conceded.
Because I bought Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which, I mean,
you piece of shit.
I know.
I did.
But yeah, I personally, this one is especially interesting because I have really zero interest in playing this NES game now. Like, there's just, I don't know. I don't want it. I feel like even some of the GBA Fire Emblem games are too dated for me at this point for my tastes. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting history piece. To me, it seems like something they probably should have just released on their NES online service.
Oh, but you know why they're not?
Because they will make a lot of money doing this.
It's not even that. They made subtle changes. They literally like added in, they called it bookmarking. So you can actually like bookmark your position or save. And right. I feel like because they put effort in, they're like, you're getting fucking charged for this now.
At least the pricing to me isn't outrageous because
Yeah.
they had to, this localization, they didn't do it back then, right? This is a new
From what I gather,
localization. So, I mean, $6 for if you're a super Fire Emblem fan or you're just interesting, that's not horrible, in
Not
my
at all.
opinion.
Yeah.
So, I
you
don't
think-
know.
Do you think our Nintendo
What do we
Switches
do
are
about
just
this?
going to evaporate into thin air when March 31st rolls around next year? Do you think it's just they're gone at that point? They had to be doing.
Why? Just because the date seems weird to be because
Yeah.
it keeps coming up.
Yeah. I feel like they're going to do at least one more, right? Like, I feel like before then, they're going to do at least one more. Like, they're going to do it with... I know, Dustin, you made a pretty good point as to why it won't happen, but I could see them just doing it with Mother 3. Just like, hey...
Oh,
this
dude,
is
that
this is
tweet,
gonna happen
people were
forever.
mad at
Yeah.
me for that tweet.
I think
There's
you made a good point, though.
the Mother fans are out there and they hate me now. But I don't. So, Karak, what do you think?
Nothing.
No,
Karak feels nothing.
I feel not. Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
I agree with all. I mean, there's nothing to talk about. It's Nintendo's just doing their same bullshit, selling nostalgia kind of stuff. So limiting the time is like salesmanship 101, and the good price. Good on them for the price. So as in good on them. I should say good on them for doing exactly what we expected, which is a low price. At least they didn't fuck us over with a high price.
Mhm.
But the limited, that's obviously, only available for a limited time. Like Nintendo are the shuckster, fucking shyster, heist, grifters, bitches of the video game world. Like they are. They will sell you your fucking dreams back, and they will make sure that you pay the ultimate premium. And people suck it up.
Like
So-
me. I'm sorry. I really
Yeah,
wanted
there
to
you go.
play Sunshine. I've never played Sunshine. It was fantastic.
Okay, wait. I don't consider that nostalgia. You never played
Oh, yeah.
Sunshine. How's that nostalgia? Right?
Right.
So to me, I think you're fine with nostalgia. I'm talking more along the lines of people who were big fans of this and are gonna get it because and rush to get it because of the limited part.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, my dog's fine.
Also-
not people who haven't played it.
yeah. Also, for this special edition, they totally wimped out because it comes with a replica game pack art. But they should have, dude, if they would have put a new NES game out, because it's definitely possible that they could
That'd be
produce
so
an
neat.
NES, a brand new NES cart with the
Yeah.
translation. That would have been cool. Like,
Good collector's piece on that.
yeah. So, I mean, it's cool at least that from what I can tell, it comes with like a Nintendo NES sleeve that looks just like the old ones, and the box looks authentic. So that it'll be cool still, but it won't have the ultimate
Yeah,
coolness.
it's
we'll
definitely
say.
possible because I know. Tell me if I pronounce it wrong, but I know Limited Run Games did Shantae or something like that, and they took that game and they reproduced a Game Boy Color cartridge that you could put into your Game Boy Color and play it. Because the original game's like hundreds of dollars if you want it.
Right. Yeah, here in Pittsburgh area, we actually have a developer called Mega Cat Studios that they make, and I don't know if they develop or just publish, but they release games for original hardware like Sega Genesis and stuff. Like at PAX, they've got CRTs and Sega Genesis playing games that were made in the past 12 months. So
What? Yeah, I mean,
Pretty
it's funny you bring
neat.
that up because I was doing a little bit of window shopping on eBay at like just complete in box Pokemon stuff, and I found Pokemon Stadium Sega Genesis, and I'm like, what the fuck? And like it's
Pokemon Stadium Genesis. Whoa.
and it's you guys can look it up. It's literally a completely different take on Pokemon Stadium. It's more like sprite based, and it almost looks like a fighter at times, but it doesn't play like one. It's very, 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 very different. So it's funny you bring that up because I wonder if that's something like they produced at some point in time. Like it's a cart that you could put into your Genesis. It is a box. It's everything. How's that? What's the legality of that? Of taking like Pokemon Stadium, retooling it, and then just reselling it on a new system and profiting off of that?
Well, if it's popular enough,
there isn't one.
Nintendo will definitely
Nintendo
go
would
after
do it.
him.
Yeah,
Mm.
Nintendo would do it or go after them. I don't see Nintendo ever being open to allowing somebody else to do it.
Yeah, right.
You know what's really weird is whether it's eBay or especially I see this a lot on the site Etsy. And even in store, like when I was in DC, I was at a mall that had it was a used music, movies, and games. They were selling brand new reproduction cartridges of Super Nintendo games, like copies of Earthbound.
Really yeah.
But what was weird at this shop in particular is that they weren't really designating them as reproductions. They just had them behind the glass, and I'm like, that's not it. Like, you guys should not do this because someone's going to come in here and buy this and think it's the real deal. I'm sure if you ask them that they would be like, oh yeah, it's a reproduction, but it's not. It doesn't state clearly. So
it has to be stated. That's bad.
They do on Etsy though. Like it's weird. You can find copies of like tons of different Super Nintendo games. Supposedly some of them can be, I've seen that it said that they can be bad for original hardware because they run at like a different voltage or something based on the way the chips work.
I didn't know that.
So something to be careful of. But yeah, it's a weird market of the fact that you can buy brand new games for old systems.
Yeah.
Still.
Shame. So Fire Emblem's coming to your Switch in December alongside Fallout 76, so you guys will be just ripe with great options.
Fallout 76 coming to Switch?
Oh, sorry. I meant Steel Dawn. Oh God, imagine that. Holy shit. Sorry. Apologies to the audience who probably also lifted an eyebrow.
I was like, what? It makes your Switch literally just dies.
Sets on fire. Yeah.
It just catches on fire and then cries.
Boots it up and it just says no.
No. Yeah.
No. You're like, all right.
Hey, Maddie, I have
else.
one question real quick for you. Well, unless this could be for Karak. I don't see Karak as a Fire Emblem fan, right?
The Wii version.
Oh, the Wii. I never played that.
Dude, I fucking it was Maddie, do you remember what that one was called?
This
has come up before.
Oh,
Radiant Dawn was GameCube.
Radiant Dawn.
I think Radiant Dawn was GameCube, and then Wii was Gems.
No, Radiant Dawn. You're right, Maddie.
Radiant Dawn. Okay. Yeah, it is Radiant Dawn. Okay, yeah. I really, really dug that game, but that's the only one I've ever played.
The first one that I really, really got into was the latest one, Three Houses.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that this 30th anniversary is getting ready for another? Because we saw on 3DS, they released 3.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously there are multiple versions of the one, right? But the Awakening, there was the trio of the one game, and then there was the remake. So surely we should be expecting, you would think, another Fire Emblem game in the next few years, hopefully.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I want one so bad. I loved Three Houses.
Yeah, I would say so. What's interesting is, at least with Fire Emblem, the way that they've been kind of trending with that series is, for those who want to play more, you can safely, I'd say, go back to Awakening. I'd say that's where a lot of the elements you see in Three Houses. I haven't played Three Houses, I should specify that, but from what I've heard, what I've seen, because I have friends who've put like hundreds of hours into it, a lot of the elements that people really like and that help that series catch fire again were really established with that 3DS release of Awakening. Before that, the game series was really tough to get into because everyone could be on permadeath. So
right.
High risk, high reward gameplay. It was for a selective crowd. They kind of removed that with Awakening. So I think, with the Three Houses did well. It was really popular. It reviewed well. So yeah, I have no doubt that in about like probably 2 years, we'll be hearing about another one, would be my guess, because they kind of have a good framework there. What's interesting though is that every Fire Emblem game has like a really neat idea. Like, I know in like Birthright, for example, you're kind of like managing this castle, and then in Three Houses, it's more along the lines of like you're the professor and you're sort of dictating what your students do. It's very it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle the next one. But I remember with what did they call the trio of them, right? It was like Fire Emblem something, and then there was Birthright. There was I always forget the other one. Birthright was the first one I played, but I played all of them.
Fire Emblem Fates.
Yes, that was it. The Fate
Yeah.
series. And there was Birthright. There was, what the hell was the other one where you play as like
Hold on. I've got
the
it right here.
knights and stuff that are much more brutal.
Birthright, Conquest, and then the
Conquest,
third
thank
was Revelation.
Thank you.
the
Conquest was difficult. That was
Yeah.
apparently the harder one of the two.
Is that the one with the purple?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that was one of the first Fire Emblem games that I had tried playing, and I started with Conquest.
Ooh,
I think that was a mistake.
it's tougher. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was designed to be more difficult. And then Revelations is kind of like the magnum
Dude,
opus, so to speak.
I think that Fire Emblem Three Houses, like I like what they introduced as far as the in-between battles gameplay. It needs some tuning. By the end of the game, like I was out of things to really do in between battles. Like I was like, I'm doing the same things. I'm having dinner with the same students, eating the same food. Like it kind of has a Persona quality that they didn't get 100% right to fulfill the entire length of the game, but they were onto something for sure.
Did you do like all of the playthroughs?
No, but I
Okay.
want to.
Which faction did you go with?
The one that's unfortunately, wait, no. Oh yeah, okay. The one I chose was the one that's Edelgard. I almost just said a spoiler. So that's why I was having a brain moment there, brain fart. But yeah, the one Edelgard, I can't remember the name of the house now
blue?
though. That's red is the color.
Okay. Red is the one
Edelgard-
that I wanted to go with, but apparently that was the worst one. That was also the shortest one. I think it's like 3 deer or whatever, or the yellow is like the best. And then blue is the second best.
So
I think once you beat the third one, a fourth unlocks. Pretty sure.
there's a fourth one that I think is DLC.
Yeah, I'm kind of just picking from what friends have told me here.
Yeah, dude, Maddie, I think that's a game that you in particular would really.
I
really
keep putting
enjoy.
it off because I know it is such a huge investment. Like it's bigger than Persona if you want to go all the way.
Oh, if you want,
you-
I mean, I just played through the game once and I felt pretty satisfied.
Okay.
But
I've told
so
I've been told the complete story makes more sense and is more enjoyable when you see like all the sides of the story.
I'm positive that is true.
Mm.
But for me, I don't know. I played it once and I was satisfied by the end and wanted to move on at that point. But I am interested in going back at some point.
Okay. I'll look into it. It's definitely on my list. That's one that sat on the back burner for a while.
You're making my mind hurt though, because I really am. I can't remember what the names of the three houses are. One of them is the deer. You're right,
Yeah, Golden
Oh.
Deer, I think.
and one of them is eagles.
Red Eagle? No, Blood Eagles. Blood Eagles is something in
It's red eagles.
Fallout.
No,
Eagles.
the black eagles.
Black. I don't.
It is
fucking
the
know.
black eagles. Okay, it's the black eagles, the blue lions, and the golden deer.
Okay, at least I got one right. At first, I thought the lions were yellow. I thought it was like yellow lions or some shit. Well, it's been established.
Good game. I
All right.
recommend it.
Patron question time. Our last part of the show where you all get involved. Thank you so much for participating. I'm sure we have many questions waiting for us. We'll see. I don't know. When I did Extra Slice, there were so few questions that, I'll be honest, fellas, I had to just tag, and Karak picked up the slack.
I did. I picked up some serious slack, and they weren't all joke questions either. So fuck
No.
off, whoever thought I was joking. I was asking
yeah, I
real
remember
questions. I cared.
All right. Tim Satel writes in with our first question. Hey, Maddie, I have a question. I may have an answer for you. In Mass Effect 1 and 2, the Codex entries had a narrator that read them to you. So I was expecting a narrator in Mass Effect 3 for Codex entry, but there weren't. Why was that? Now, this is a very direct question that would assume that I had direct involvement with the development of the game. Allow me to clarify that I did not. But I would guess it is a budget thing. Usually when voice is cut, it's... Especially, it was a last-gen game, so it could have also been file size. You know, we're so used to seeing like 50 gigabyte games that our heads don't spin at that. But back then on the 360 and PS3, anything above 10 was like a what the or I'm sorry, 20 was like what the fuck is this, man? That was like getting crazy. So I do think it was probably file size, cutting that down, and I do think it had something to do with budget. Because was that the one with like Jessica Chobot in it and stuff? And they were getting like, they did contests for the game and stuff. That was their first attempt at day one DLC. So I think that there was a lot of money-making moves involved in there to just draw attention to the game. They had loot boxes in the multiplayer. As much as I love it, that was in there, and I was definitely guilty of spending cash on that. That would be cool to see them add in with like a legendary edition, though. That's something I actually never picked up on. Anything you guys want to add in, or should we just move on to the next question?
I think you said it all. Yeah.
All mine. Thank you, Tim. Horse of Fire writes in, would Xbox ever get Final Fantasy VII remastered or Secret of Mana on its system? One of my favorite games of all time that was on Nintendo, now on PS4, hopefully brought to Xbox eventually, or will I be forced to play it on a Sony system?
I think it's coming to Xbox, just not till next March at the earliest.
Yeah, I thought also that there was like a leak of some kind. It for sure was, but I would say there's a pretty good chance. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah,
for now.
Honestly, at this point, just wait, because whether you play it on Xbox or Sony, I'm sure there will be some kind of next gen something
update. Yeah, for sure. Well, there has to be for that fucking glaucoma filter the game had when you played it on these normal ones with the textures that look. I remember. I think it was Maddie who was fighting Cowboy. I told somebody about the door. Yeah, I was just like, look at this. Look at this shit.
They actually, that's a big thing, Karak, and they released a patch recently, and people went to the door and it wasn't patched, like it wasn't fixed.
I don't know how that's even possible, dude. The door is revolting, man. It's just
so
like
funny,
and it's right there, like yeah. So
I missed that.
Agree.
I gotta go find this door because I missed that not missed it, but I didn't notice it in my playthrough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you might have been just concentrating on normal shit. It's just for whatever reason that popped into my head and I saw it and then could never unsee it.
Yeah, a lot of people, apparently the patch was supposed to fix also like the textures that were in the background of some of the levels where like you were above Midgar and you're looking down and like they just, it looked terrible. Like chapter 4 or 5, I think it was, when you were like,
when you were walking around on the roof.
Yeah, dude.
That game is such a weird dynamic. There were moments where I'm like, this looks breathtakingly great. And then there's other moments I'm like, how did this happen?
Yeah, it's like you look at Aerith's house in the scene with like either Tifa or Aerith with Cloud, and like you see the particle effects and the house looks great. Everything looks great, character models. And then you see that moment there in the gameplay and you go, what the fuck am I playing? Night and day.
That PS1 texture on that door, they left it in from the original game or something.
I respect it.
Yeah, it's rough.
I respect the play.
It was a callback. It was like, hey, man.
It's an Easter egg, clearly.
Yeah, it's an Easter egg.
All right. Pluralizes everything 869 writes in. This is more of a message to all your viewers than a question. Oh, boy, here we go. For those YouTube viewers who aren't patrons, you may not know that Maddie puts out exclusive patron content, and I just want to say it's well worth it to join and be a part of this community. We have a ton of new patrons, and I really want to welcome them as well as invite everyone else to be part of here. To our kick-ass hosts, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train here because this is crazy. To our kick-ass hosts, keep up the good work, guys, and thanks for putting in the hours and effort to bring us this much enjoyed content. Thank you so much. Holy smokes, man. Nice. That was very nice of you to say. And yeah, we have grown a lot on our Patreon. I'm at about 254 last I looked, and we started the year in like the low hundreds. So we've grown a lot. This last month alone, we've had 30 plus new patrons, which is
awesome.
a pretty high number. Yeah, and what makes me happy is people are joining at the lower levels where I feel like we enjoy it. We offer a lot of value in that $1 to $5 area. Everything else is sort of like, do you want to be in the videos? Do you want a little bit more?
Right.
Do you want to go the extra mile? But I'm happy to see people seeing just the value in the content and just going for that. Because I always say Patreon for all three of us is a power in numbers thing. We don't want 10 of you at $100 level. We want 1,000 of you at $1 level. Like that's what we want. We want you to save money. If you choose to spend it here, we want you to just, enjoy the content we offer. But to those of you who do go above and beyond, you play just as big of a factor as well. So thank you to all of you. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Horse of Fire asks one more question. I have one more question to ask and double dip in this podcast, so my apologies. You never have to apologize because you'll never be as bad as Natural Calamity. I wonder what he wrote this episode because it's a meme at this point, man. I'm curious with Starfield if they are going to do it like with Skyrim. Would that mean that there will be a Thieves Guild element, but instead it's like a Smugglers Guild or something along those lines? With pickpocketing, looting from homes, star bases, etc., I would assume so because of how all Bethesda games have been. Yes, but I'm curious on your thoughts because I think that would be awesome. So, gentlemen, do you think we're going to see the likes of guilds and stuff in Starfield? Because I think it's going to be very separate from what makes Elder Scrolls, and Fallout. Obviously, because it's a new IP, but also I think Bethesda, I get the inkling they want to take a more exploratory vibe with this game. Their games have always had exploration-driven gameplay, but I feel like this time around, that's going to be the core of it all. It's not going to be those factions. It's going to be discovering an alien race instead. It's something on a much more, I think, grander scale. But what do you guys think?
No.
I
couldn't disagree with you more, and so now I'm super excited for this game.
Okay,
super
dude.
excited. That's
Okay.
awesome. So I disagree on all that. Literally all of it. I don't think
Okay, cool.
Bethesda will have us discovering new races like new guilds. I feel that they will go out of their way to make sure that it feels like Skyrim in space. And
I'd be fine with that.
I will be so happy to be wrong. And I would be so happy to be right if it's good. So I don't lose either way. I don't see them stating. In fact, I think Outer Worlds probably tasted a little revolting for them because I do feel that there's going to be some overlap there in the just the overall look, and feel of that kind of thing. But I don't think that they want to go too far away. And then the too far is how far do you jump? Do you jump to a Mass Effect style? Where do you go even in that? Or do you go there isn't a huge amount of flexibility, and I just don't see them doing that. So that'd be really interesting, man, because I don't think that they've got the chops whatsoever to have multiple planets or anything like that. What I felt was more of a Firefly kind of thing, where it would be maybe you're on a ship. Strangely enough, like I said, a little bit like Outer Worlds, and maybe what if some of your missions are on space stations or on flotillas of multiple ships joined together, or whatever. I've never seen them even discuss large planets as a thing. Unless they put habdomes, they could do that. Basically wherever a habitat could work, maybe that's where your adventure occurs per planet. They could do that. That's not at all what I saw. Fallout 4/Outer Worlds in space. I didn't see a ton of other stuff. Man, I hope to be wrong. I didn't even think you expected that. That's cool to know.
I mean, it's not what I really expect. I should say it's more so what I feel like they would want to do as creatives. You don't want. I think a lot of things they get accused of is
that's true.
When Oblivion came out and then Fallout 3 came out, it was Elder Scrolls with guns. It wasn't Fallout 3 for a while until Fallout 3 kind of, I think, established itself more and more.
Sure, makes sense.
So I feel like if they're doing something new, they're gonna, I think the gameplay will naturally separate itself. If you're going to different planets, do those planets play differently? Would be a question you ask. Do you have a ship? If so, do you pilot that ship, or is it like the Outer Worlds where you just kind of go to a menu and it, like a KOTOR, it brings you to that planet and then it's like a loading screen? I think those are the questions that we ask that would be able to separate itself. And then if it has guilds and all that stuff per planet, that would be even crazier. That would be awesome. I think the game, I wonder how big they're going to really go with it. Do you make one
That's
planet?
Exactly what scale, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, do you make a lot of little planets where cities you can land on them? How, are they going to do procedural generation? To what extent? Because they've always done that since Morrowind, really. I think even since
remember when you and I
Daggerfall.
talked about Outer Worlds and they showed the moon, and we were like, oh, you might get to travel to the moon. We didn't even know. The spaceship would leave at first. The idea was, the spaceship, there was a moon. I think it was the first trailer where they showed the moon, and people were like, oh, maybe that means you can travel to the moon. And that was sort of all people expected. And then it got bigger and bigger. It's but it's not this big, but it's, some planets you can go to, and people were surprised. Hopefully Bethesda does the same thing, where it's they release it and they get you to buy into whatever little they show without like wanting is world changing things. And then what they do show you is then just accepted as, because it's a little bit what Dustin had with Outer Worlds. I think Dustin would have enjoyed Outer Worlds more if he had played it day one. Because like, I do believe a little bit of the enjoyment of Outer Worlds was its freshness at that time. Or it's maybe not even freshness. It was just at that time. Just,
it tickled the right.
It tickled the right fancy at that moment. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, I don't know, man. I don't see them doing something massive though. It would be crazy if they did. I just think of their bugs, dude. I'm not trying to be rude, and I didn't want to say it, but that's honestly.
No, of course you can. I mean, like, come on, let's be real.
Inventory. Can you imagine? You cannot quick travel. You have 4,000 space ducats in your pocket, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
You got to toss an alien head you're holding so that you can teleport back. And that's another thing. Like, will it be? Well, we don't even know any of this, right? We don't even know the level in which science exists. Like, we don't even know.
There's only been very interesting gameplay screenshot leaks that, seem like they have Bethesda written all over it.
Okay.
But, it has yet to be officially confirmed. But even so, let's say they do officially confirm it, it doesn't tell you much about how, like, it tells you there might be like some type of settlement feature. If those gameplay screenshot leaks are anything to go off of, I think what's really going to happen is you will have a home base, which is like your settlement mode. Like, you're going to build this out over time. And it is just one space you build, instead of in Fallout 4 where you built all over the fucking map and they took out cool towns and cities in exchange for you to be able to build. I think you're going to have one place you build. This is your home base. And then you're going to go out to planets, to different locales, different space stations, all that shit. And I think that's where either you're going to bring people back, or that's just like home base, right? And then this is where you go to, kind of like Fallout 4, you have your power armor bench, your workbench for armor and all that shit. That's just my guess based off the leak screenshot. It's a large leap, but that's sort of where I would realistically set my expectations.
I'm with Karak on this one.
Oh no.
Just because
we're bringing him down.
Bethesda has shown that they are a mostly iterative company when it comes to new releases, in my opinion. And like Karak said, like, I think that if the smartest thing for them to do, because they are taking on an entire new setting, which is going to require a lot of new aspects, whether it's traveling around in a ship or whatever, that I'm guessing that, like Karak said, it's going to be more of like a Skyrim in space. And I would, instead of trying to reinvent things, I think that they should just double down and make it the most polished Skyrim in space as possible. Just because
that'd be so cool,
especially with Fallout 4 and what felt like a lot of lack of polish there. I think that I would hope that they would have heard that criticism and are taking that into the next game. So everything else, I think you guys covered it. So I don't need to talk forever about it, but yeah.
I also have a question to you guys, or maybe not a question, I don't know what I would term it, but I firmly believe that as one of the premier supporters of VR, we will probably see like a VR version of this come out at the same time. And I don't know, wow. I think it because Microsoft has WMR, that's their bread and butter is WMR, and they don't even have to support it that heavily. They just design the specs and then the other companies make it. It just seems to me that would be a perfect way to also test VR. Because, dude, if that's also exclusive, can you imagine? So that's not even on a PSVR. It's just like, even if it's just Windows. Microsoft. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be very cool to see. Because I think that's when Bethesda's got they warm the cockles of my heart, because they do support VR, which I give them a shout out for, even though they make me pay the full fucking price for the game. But whatever.
Wait, Maddie, do we just endlessly speculate about a game that we know nothing about?
You did, Dustin. I didn't. Welcome to my world.
Just before anyone thinks I'm a douche, this is an ongoing joke with Maddie and I on Twitter and other podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah, we I mean, look. someone's got to speculate out there, right? Everyone's like, I don't like to comment on rumors and speculation, but I'm just like, I fucking love it. This shit's fucking fun to me. Like, I don't know how else to word it, but that is just me.
Yeah, and I would say I for sure will say, I don't want to say anything, but it's also just the more data you have.
Oh yeah,
And
I'm
with this,
I'm totally
it's easy to
kidding.
speculate because we got nothing.
No, I know you're
Right.
kidding, but I know there are a lot of, would the word be professionals in our industry who like very much are strict about not commenting on any leaks and stuff. And I don't know if that's because it eliminates opportunities or whatever. For me, I'm just like, dude, we're excited about the game. Like, let's talk about the game. I have limits. Like, if a full fucking, I remember when Fallout 4, like, I think 15 minutes of gameplay leaked during QuakeCon, and like I made a video just saying I'm not talking about this. Like, it's out there, but I'm not talking about it because like there's a limit. Like, if it's pictures and stuff, that's one thing. But when it's like a full on like, hey, here's like a shit ton of gameplay that definitely was not supposed to see the light of day, I think there's like a barrier, so to speak.
Yeah, makes
But
sense.
that's just my personal standards. Florida Man writes in, what game series or genre would you send to the fiery pits of hell? As the world would be a far better place to live in without the addition of that damnation of a game/genre. For me, it's Call of Duty. That game is the Shang Tsung of video games who's taking people's souls left and right. You know how many relationships it's ended, how many divorces it has caused, and worst of all, those poor babies born in 2021 who are forced to live their lives with the first name Gulag. There's got to be a series you despise. I'd love to know. All right. A series you like that you were going to fucking volleyball spike to the pits of hell. Karak, what series do you like?
I mean, a series that I like that I'm gonna destroy anyway.
Oh no, I was hoping you'd just blindly answer me and I'd just spike that to hell.
Oh, and then you could spike mine because I don't even agree with his Call of Duty at all.
No, I wouldn't
like-
agree with that at all.
Yeah,
That's all
Oh,
self-control. If you're getting divorced or breaking up with your girlfriend over Call of Duty, that's a you problem.
Yeah.
That's all
yeah, that's exactly. That's COD does not include you. I would say, yeah, a game or series. Game? Can I choose a game?
Game or genre, he said. So
Okay, here's
I
a
don't know.
game I wish never existed. This is not a joke, and it's funny. He might be in my Discord as well. Death Stranding.
Okay.
Yeah,
Really, I'm
completely,
curious because a lot of
utterly-
people support that game because it's so different on a AAA level. What makes you?
A lot of people are brainwashed heathens that have no fucking idea what they're playing. It's a piece of shit game. I think that game is a piece of shit, and I think that people were completely, unbelievably taken out to the fucking bank for that game. And I mean, I get it. People were washing their hands of it, being like, he was a little boy and he was lonely, and he made a song about loneliness. Yeah, you can sing to your baby, sure, but making a game out of it, it's fucking stupid. It's a bad game. It's not fun. It's pretty. It's got terrible voice acting. It's got terrible acting. It doesn't have good combat. That game is one of those titles where years later, I have a feeling a number of people are going to look back on it and go, why the fuck did I like that? I have no fucking clue why I like that. And I firmly believe Death Stranding is one of those. That's mine.
That's a good one, and a well-supported argument at that.
I'm
proud of
sure
you.
people are just going to be so mad and be like, I'm leaving.
I don't
Leave.
know.
Whatever.
I don't know. Look,
It's just a game.
I would argue I'm very open-minded with like playing games and trying whatever. And like that game
tried
looked
it.
so unappealing that I was just like, man, I know I'm wasting my time. Like I know I'm judging a book by its cover right now, but that just does not look good to me. Like it just doesn't. I just can't convince myself to do it. Yeah, I remember when I made videos, people were just like, dude, you're an idiot. I'm just like,
Oh, where
Yeah.
you make, and I
Like,
mean,
when
I guess that's the way it is. Like, people feel that way again about Metal Gear as well, and I would agree with that. Some of the
It
Metal
was-
Gear games I really
I remember
disliked.
being in that little bubble where I was like thinking about making a video saying like this doesn't look as amazing as the internet's making it out to be, and this is how I feel. And I remember being like actually nervous, like, okay, I'm going to get jumped on for this for sure. I didn't, and a lot of people actually ended up agreeing with me, but still, to my point, I remember that was like one of those more touchy subjects to kind of speak out on.
You always have to think that's why I feel that way, though, Maddie, because the touchiness seems so shallow and instant. It does, and a lot of times when people defend it, they don't defend it well. They're like, because it's peaceful. All right, why? Like, That's great because I like peaceful games. I'm a huge SnowRunner fan, Mud Runner. Those games are fucking insanely fun. So I've definitely liked those. And then when I continue to ask him to explain it, I don't get a very good explanation. But I'll tell you this, I tried it. And so you're not talking to somebody who's just going to be like, this fucking game sucks. I dislike it. It's just a game where I really, really, really like it. That most people did. I think we've all had one.
I have
Maybe.
one.
Maybe you haven't?
I have one. I'm saying I definitely have one.
Go for it.
Mine is TMNT Mutants in Manhattan. I wish that game never existed because it's one of the most sorely disappointing releases I've ever had the displeasure of putting myself through. I remember being so excited because for me, I am a huge fan of Platinum Games. I love all of their stuff, most of their stuff, I should actually specify, because there was a period of time they were putting out trash. And this was during an era of Platinum Games where they had like an A, B, C team. And you could tell the difference each time. Unfortunately, the Ninja Turtles, one of my favorite brands since I was a kid. I still have all my action figures. I bought new ones this fucking year at a toy shop that were based on Turtles in Times from NECA, which was really cool. I played that game and I was like actually upset. I was actually like, I usually don't get enraged enough where it carries over to when I flip on the camera and I'm like, okay, let's talk about the game. Usually there's like all right, I'm on camera now, and I simmer down because you have to do multiple takes.
Right.
But this game, just like, I was just furious.
Let down.
Yeah,
right.
It's 4 hours long. Its combat is nothing like any other Platinum Games game in the worst way possible. Its story is ass. The only thing that is redeemable about that game is that it looks damn good. It has the IDW comic style for the Ninja Turtles, which is an approach that I really like, which was why it instilled a lot of hope in me. But they fucking dropped the ball on the bosses, on the moves, that they fucking randomly generated mission objectives for you to do on these maps. Like, they're never the same. Like, they made this... Like, they tried to make this replayable game because it was so short. So they said, let's just procedurally generate. Either you defuse a bomb or you collect money. Or it's just, oh, God. Like, if that game just got wiped off the map so I never had to experience that, I'd be very, very happy. Sadly, it's not the case. And my friend just bought a complete box copy for $40, and he wants me to play it with him again. So
a friend no more.
Yes, a friend no more.
Not any longer.
Yes.
Let's see. All right, am I ready to upset people like Karak has? For me,
comment section, Dustin, just fucking like
just everyone
20% thumbs up in Maddie's videos, but go for it.
If I okay, the game I hate with a burning passion is specifically season 1 of Life is Strange. Because and I wrote when I was it's a long story, but I was playing through it based on a bet that I had lost with someone from Handsome Phantom. And because it's his favorite, like, of all time. And as I was playing it, I wrote down a list of everything I hated about it. And I'm not going to redo the list here, but I can boil it down to that the graphics to me just were gross. The number one thing is the dialogue and how they wrote these characters, in that they are so leaning hard into stereotypes to the point where it's like, we get it. This girl's the edgy girl. We get it. You made her last name Caulfield, like Holden Caulfield. Like, I get it. The one girl's like, oh, sad face out loud. The dialogue is so cringy. The cringe is over 9,000. There's like this part where the girl does like a Lord of the Rings Gollum impression at one point that I almost just like completely threw my computer out the window. So yeah, Life is Strange season 1. I can't handle it.
Interesting.
I feel like the people who are responding to me right now in the Death Stranding comments when he mentioned that. Because our dichotomy being so separate, being so different, but it is so weird that like exact moments he didn't like, I liked. So like I get it.
That happened to me when you were talking about Death Stranding.
And like when you said the Gollum thing, I've done the Gollum thing. in my life, like the ripoff. But I also do know that if somebody didn't know me or whatever and just saw it randomly, they'd be like, this is the cheesiest, right? Like, so I actually get it. Even though I'm like, what? Everything you said, I remember all those moments, and I'm all, but what? But when you look at it, it's just like, that sort of makes sense, because if it causes anger in somebody, it can cause happiness in somebody else. Obviously, you know, I actually sort of consider this a positive, because the moments you mentioned are my high points and your low points, which actually to me indicate they were trying something. Didn't work for you, but like, I get it. And I'm sort of happy that we both had the same, like the dialogue you hated, I loved, but I actually understand totally why you like, that's a cool dichotomy there, to see somebody who dislikes it that much, but the same stuff. That's really interesting.
A lot of it does come down to dialogue. One of the quotes that I wrote down here, I don't remember the context. I remember writing it down because I was like, what? The one girl says, "Do not analyze me. I pay people for that." Yeah. What does that even mean? Can someone explain to me what that means?
Yeah, it's a sexual joke. Don't analyze instead of analyze me. I pay somebody to analyze me. That's the kind of joke I would make with my friends. It's exactly the joke I would make. So I get it.
I would have to go back and look. I don't think she's making a joke about buttholes, though.
Oh,
in that moment,
she says analyze.
Does she?
She is. If she's you read it as analyze. I thought you were stressing anal. Oh. So to me, that's a sex joke.
If I did, it was a Freudian.
Yeah. Honestly, did I just pick up on that, Maddie? Or did it sound a little bit like he was saying analyze?
I heard analyze, but
okay. Maybe then that's completely on me. If it's just a random, then that's just boring writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That game validated my usage of the word hella. I used it for years before, and then everyone was like,
why people hate.
Everyone was like, I hate that Chloe says hella. I'm like, I am Chloe, bro. Like, come on now, let's go.
So it's so awesome to see somebody who dislikes it though, because like, I reviewed it. I gave it best game of the year for me.
Oh shit,
Justin. No shit. Not only that, when in my review I said I have never wanted to be a 17-year-old girl until now.
Damn.
And the reason why is because of those nostalgia points and the way they talked. But I see absolutely nothing wrong with anything you have an issue with. Like, Karak, I get it.
What's so funny is that Death Stranding was my game of the year last year.
Wow. Oh, was it last year? Yeah. I think it was a lot of people. So I think I'm more on the wrong side of that one than you are on this one. I'll go that far. But
interesting. Interesting.
Especially because I would say for the most part, I think everybody here, we have our own games we like more, but most of us all agree. But it is funny to find I think Maddie's is the only one that like is sort of tied to him, which is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, as being a child and having it stomped in front of you.
Yeah.
Like a puppy.
Yeah, pretty much actually.
Yeah, it was pretty terrible. I didn't pick that one because I sort of wanted to exist as a good example of shitty games. With shitty IPs.
Ninja Turtles had a lot of bad games that have come out. Like
have they? Okay, I guess.
I mean, the NES ones. I know that's not like the best example, but I know they also licensed out like for the 2012 series. There's a DS game for TMNT. It looks horrible.
Was there?
Yeah, it looks horrible. Okay. There was a lot of people didn't like the Konami ones. I like them, but that's my favorite era of Turtles. But like before that, like everyone was trying to just do like, what was it? Turtles in Time constantly. Like it's just, I feel like enough examples of repetition exist enough to warrant trying something new. And when they're like, oh, we're going to do these open hub areas where you got missions and stuff. And we're doing the IDW comic style. We're not even doing the normal Turtles that were popular at the time, which were the 2012 ones. I was like, fuck and yes, let's go. And they let me down.
Dang it.
Makes sense.
Chris Cozy.
Oh, sorry. See the comments on this one.
Yeah, it will be.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
What were you saying, Dustin?
Oh, sorry. Hey. Okay, read this one, but I have a comment before you read the one after that.
Okay.
You know what's coming.
I do see it, actually. Chris Cozy writes in first. Have you seen the latest gameplay trailer for Scorn? And if so, do you have any thoughts? The game looks disgusting, and I have no idea what it's about, yet I'm oddly fascinated. So I want to say it was GameSpot, but I'm not sure. Someone dropped about 13 minutes of Scorn gameplay, and it was really just someone walking around a ton with like a gun that they would remove shit with, and it would like make very squishy, gooey sounds. A couple of points in the demo, he shoots like one enemy. A lot of people expected something like Doom, so a lot of folks were kind of let down from what I saw. But I know next to nothing about Scorn other than it's supposed to be kind of like very gross and creepy almost. And I don't think it's supposed to be like this high octane shooter whatsoever. But I skimmed through it. I'll admit I didn't sit through the whole thing because I don't have like a deep interest in the game right now. So I did tab through it when it had dropped just out of curiosity because I know this was one of the Series X event reveal games that they revealed, and I believe this will be a temp exclusive for them. So with that, those are just my brief thoughts on it. Did you guys watch it and pick up anything else from the gameplay?
I have not seen anything on this game whatsoever.
Okay. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it's kind of been a little under the radar. It's kind of picking up steam, though, now a little bit. But, Maddie, like you, I started watching this gameplay, and then I started skipping around. I think it was I would hope that it was a terrible showing of the game. Maybe the game's just not very fun. But
is it like Agony? That bad?
It's not like it looks bad.
bad.
It's more so that the whole 13 minutes is him just walking around. Very little interaction, very little combat. It's like you expected something and nothing really happened outside of I think 2 or 3 encounters happen, and it's just like one enemy, and it's not even like it doesn't even look good. It's very.
Here's the thing, guys. Scorn is next gen, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Scorn, Godfall, a couple of these games that like they're just not showing well. I don't know any other way to say it. I think Godfall is showing a tiny bit better now, but it's still is not really more. Like I don't know what the term would be. It's not really like, oh, this is next gen. In fact, it actually looks like current gen at the end of this gen because we've done PS4 in particular has done a very good job with their graphics. So I'm okay with it. Not you're like I'll wait and see what It might just be a bad trailer, man.
I think that's what it was. It felt that way. It just seemed like very strange. Like, hey, we have 13 minutes. Let's show them this. My guess is maybe that it's a more atmospheric kind of creepy game. I don't think you're supposed to be mowing down enemies by any stretch of the imagination. So I do think that when it's in your hands and you are playing it, and you do have those more slow moments where
it's gonna be tense and because that's hard to translate in a trailer.
Yeah, because he had this like gun and he like pulled something off and then put something on it to start shooting an enemy. So I'm wondering if like that's going to be those dynamic moments of gameplay tension where you're like, oh shit, like this thing's coming at me, and he's like slowly switching it out, kind of like how people really liked almost the tank controls for Resident Evil, because there was this almost cumbersome manner to your character while something's coming right at you. So that could also be it. I'm not terribly informed on the game, to be quite truthful. Dustin, you see what's next, don't you?
No, here's the thing, Maddie, with Natural Calamity. This is your show, so you can do whatever you like. But you need to be a dad. You need to be the dad in this situation and say no. You read the first 2 questions, and then we move on. That's my suggestion. Okay? You can't just skirt around and hope that we'll feel bad because you wrote 5 questions, and we're going to read them all. We were clear last week.
This is a fair point. I think Dustin's in the right here, Natural. We joked, we had fun. We asked you after bursting through your questions to give us 2 well-written ones. And I see 2 well-written ones, but I also see 3 more after that. So, Natural, as Mr. Daddy plays, I've decided to scold.
Oh, shit. Mr. Daddy plays.
Yeah.
Damn.
2 questions is all you get, son. All right. As Karak just stoically looks.
I have no clue what we're even fucking talking about. I didn't know there was even a discussion about him not being able to do extra questions.
No, because we were saying, like, what really happened was Natural Calamity would just blast us with questions.
And they always had bad grammar or something. You had a hard time reading them.
It was the writing,
And so was this in the podcast last week, and I just spaced that we talked about him only being able to do 2?
Yeah, and we were like, I said, instead of writing these, because what he did was it was bad grammar, I'm going to be honest. These, I skimmed through them already, look way more well-written. But now he's pushed 5 because he's a businessman here. Clearly, he's given us a little. He's like, look, I've complied on the behalf of good grammar.
Yeah, right.
You will read all 5, won't you? And it's like, no, I will read 2. I'll read 2. I have to be stern because maybe one day I'll read 3. And if I'm in a good mood, I'll read 5. Today, I'm in a fucking foul mood. So natural calamity, you get 2 questions. We also have a lot after, so I want to go ahead and just get to that too. Question 1, do you see internet speed ever getting to the point where streaming a game will look and feel the same as watching a 4K movie on Netflix or playing off Ethernet or off a disc?
Yes.
Yes.
Look wise. Yes.
Look wise.
He said look.
He said look and feel.
Look. That's my
I don't
answer.
think you'll
Look.
ever have the feel, right? There's always going to be
Correct.
that slight latency no matter what.
Except there is something crazy. I don't know if you guys saw this. They tested a mouse recently that was wireless and it had less latency than the wired version. And there's various reasons why that's possible and various reasons. And Microsoft, I don't know if you guys saw, but Microsoft lowered the latency in Gears, all the Gears games, a shit ton.
that.
Even Matt, he's in my Discord. He's the PS5 developer. Even he tweeted on it, was like, dude, that's insane. Like, that is a massive drop. So if you drop your latency everywhere else and then the latency is just over your internet, that will also work. That's one thing people forget. Latency is everywhere. If you can remove it in a lot of other places, then you have a little bit more leeway somewhere else. So there is a possibility. Look, for sure. I don't know about latency, man. That's insane.
I feel
you
like
have to have perfect internet.
Yeah. He didn't put a time frame. I think eventually the answer is yes. Like, we never thought that we would have a device in our pocket that we could look up any information that exists practically in the world at any moment. And here it is. So who am I to say we won't be able to perfectly stream a game in 4K HDR or 8K at some point 50 years from now?
With AI upscaling, maybe,
Sure.
right?
Dude, right now you can transmit HDMI through your light bulb. Did you guys see that?
Holy shit. No.
No,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
it's called like Light Net, but basically what it does is it can give you internet up to 1080p, I believe. But basically what happens is you put the LED in, and it has to connect to an internet server, your LAN, whatever, it's up there. And it, by flashing at a speed humans, dogs, animals can't see, transmits data to a receiver on your laptop, and they show different speeds. And this is like a future, where people are looking at. I use power lines, which is the one where you plug your internet into the power plug and it transmits internet somewhere else in your house. Like, we're getting crazy shit. So if we can get that stuff, we can get, your latency down, and,
Yeah. I'm sure there will be
maybe
a
not
time where
zero,
it's very minimal. Yeah, like there will be a difference, but it's going to be hard to notice, perhaps.
I told Dustin I had to play Airborne, my favorite game of all time, modern. I always say this: Medal of Honor, Airborne, which is one of my favorite shooters. But its fucking latency is like 80 milliseconds. And so you add everything else on, it is almost unplayable now. And it was one of my favorite games. We were just accustomed to that sometimes.
Yeah.
Some games.
That was a good game. I forgot all about that.
When you died and you respawned in the airplane and it dropped you again, was just next level.
Cool.
And so ahead of its time, even though now we see it a lot.
Yeah. I'm excited for the new Medal of Honor on VR. That looks great.
Yeah, for sure.
Question 2, do you think they will add any RPG elements to Halo? Skills for your Master Chief? He plays different. You can maybe upgrade your armor, different outcomes to missions, just make it more of a choose your own Master Chief and make it more customizable. What do you guys think?
No.
No, he says. Okay. Karak?
No, probably not. I could see him doing it because it seems lost, but no, probably not.
I feel like there were rumors of that for a while. I could see light RPG elements, like maybe tweaking your guns for the story and only the story. I don't think this will ever play a factor in the multiplayer.
Outfitting your Warthog with different weapons, maybe?
Yeah,
like if you have a house or a
exactly.
residence.
Like you already know there are variations of the Warthog, right? Like the ones that shoot
Right.
like the kind of the mini cannons, or the one that has like the turret on it. I'm sure maybe you could have your Warthog and then choose which one you want. Like I think it's going to be
and have
very
it look
light.
like leopard print and shit.
Maybe I wouldn't even go that far, quite frankly.
Tiger print and leopard print.
If what they said about supporting the campaign is true, then I don't think they can really afford to host, lots of story choices. So I don't think that's a thing. I don't see how you could fit a skill system in. I think they just may expand with gadgets. That's kind of the crux of Halo. I feel is like gadgets and guns. So you add more of those, you're adding more to the game. So I think you'll see customization. Like I said, maybe you'll add a scope to a gun, or you'll have it 8 times or 4 times on your sniper rifle. Maybe you'll see that, but I don't think it goes beyond that with like skills and leveling up and shit. At least I didn't get that notion at all in the gameplay, right? Because you'd think, despite how in rough shape the game kind of was when we saw it, you'd think, let's say they're doing RPG stuff, you'd see at least like XP pop up of some kind. And if there are RPG mechanics, you'd imagine damage numbers would pop up, which I think would have sent people into a frenzy. But to my point, I don't think it's going to happen. Sorry, Natural. That's all you get. Now, we move on to another meme on our show. Mafatcock writes in, having just played Mass Effect for the first time in the summer of 2019, I can say that I agree with Karak's assessment that it's still a great game and the gameplay is absolutely not a deterrent. The whole aging poorly thing is constantly repeated and becomes conventional wisdom among gamers. My question is, what, in your opinion, is the most egregious bit of gaming conventional wisdom?
Oh.
Let me know if I got to reread that again, because I personally do. But
you personally do what?
If I said, let me know if you guys need me to reread that, because I personally have to, because I'm just like, whoa, what a question.
Unconventional.
Basically, what he's saying is just what's another thing that people have repeated enough that we consider it true when we really don't think it's true.
Witcher 3 is flawless. I'll say it.
Well, yeah, that's a big one. That's like, and I like Witcher 3, but come on.
I'll say
that shit was nuts.
Yeah, that's definitely one that, like, it's a very do no wrong kind of situation. That's, oh my God, that's 100% the one I can't stand.
Dude, if it was doing no wrong, they wouldn't have patched the entire movement system, which they did.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a great game. I'm with Karak, and I think I'm with Dustin. I don't know if Dustin, do you like Witcher?
Yeah, he said, he said, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. I mean,
yeah,
I don't have strong opinions about it, honestly.
To tell people they're wrong if they don't like it and shit, that's kind of what The Witcher started to breed. Like, there was so much positivity, it kind of turned into almost like toxic in a way, really. You just couldn't be critical about the game, and I don't think that's ever good, because you just put a company in a position where, like, who do you listen to? Are we doing no wrong? Should we just stay the path? Anyone who's critical, just see ya. Like,
Xbox has no exclusives.
Oh, you don't like that one?
I absolutely don't, because it's actually factually not true. And I hate shit like that when it's thrown around, especially when I get in a discussion where I'm trying to do both sides. Because I did the Assassin's Creed video a couple days ago. And I usually, for discussion videos, I'll take the argument side to verify I'm right. Or what I think is right, and then do the side I want to do. And it's like I'm always talking about IPs, and it's like it's factually incorrect. Mm-hmm. So, like, why is it brought up all the time? And then, obviously, we know why it's brought up all the time. But it's just one of those things that it bothers me so much, because negating something, what I do as a joke, like when I'm with my friends. Like when maybe I want to go get pizza and I know one person doesn't like Canadian bacon, I'll be like, what do you 5 people over here want? Ignoring him as a joke. And that kind of stuff pops up. And for some reason, I just really dislike it. There's something about it seems really disingenuous. So I would rather have you say, here's why they're bad.
Yeah.
Because then you have strength to your argument. And otherwise, the argument is me just wasting my breath on somebody who hasn't even taken the time to prepare, I guess. Mm-hmm. Especially when you get into long, deep podcasts or something, which luckily we all usually don't have this issue. But I've been on a couple where sometimes you're just like, should we talk about this? Because what you're saying isn't true right from the very starting. So,
Dustin, what pisses you the fuck off, man?
More content means a better game. That's like a mindset that people have, I think. That
it's got to be 10 hours or whatever. Have you ever seen that one where it's like they do the movie theater thing?
Right.
Like, I want a movie.
And this comes from that era, so I'm not shitting on, Assassin's Creed, but like I remember playing one of the I don't know if it's Assassin's Creed 2 or one of those that you just see like the map light up with a million things to do, and half of them aren't even that fun or even mean anything. It's just stuff to do. And I think that it's getting better now that we're seeing games that kind of do less content as far as like objectives and like side stuff that is just more gameplay. It's not anything meaningful. I always appreciate games doing less and doing those things better.
Right.
So yeah, less it can be more. Not always, but sometimes I think a game can try to do too much and then it's detrimental to the quality overall.
Agreed. I think we all had really good answers there. Dow writes in, how do mobile games have so much money to spend on advertising? I've been getting near constant ads for AFK Arena on YouTube and Twitter, which are incredibly cringe, by the way. Plus the fact they have actors like Elijah Wood and Markiplier, which leads me to another question. That is, how do mobile games primarily make money anyway, even if they are garbage shovelware? Microtransactions and ads? Question mark. I've also noticed that the companies behind them I've never heard of. So I wonder how they have all this money for advertising just starting out. There are a lot of ways, man. There are a lot of ways that
Netmarble does a lot of this. A lot of it's reused engines and stuff too. Because you'll notice the DC like battle game looks like the Marvel battle game, stuff like that. Those kind of setups for sure. But I mean, there's just less requirement to put the stuff together, and I mean, even just to make locations, less work needs to be done for a lot of that kind of stuff.
It costs less to make.
Yeah.
I think it's also we've all probably experienced an ad DAO, or I'm sorry, an ad. I cut off my own sentence. We've all experienced a game where a free ad will pop up, and just kind of like on a YouTube video, you're consuming it for free, but that'll generate ad revenue. And I think with a lot of the popular free mobile games, that generates even more because there's like hundreds of thousands of people on them. I think a lot of companies kind of took a note of what Raid Shadow Legends did. I mean, they may have marketed to the point where they became a meme, but you can guarantee people checked it out.
Yeah.
And even as a joke, like, hey, let's look at this stupid game. Like,
also, and this is not to, I don't know the business decisions. But if your face is on something, you have a following. Unless you're able to say this is a complete lie during the video, that following may follow you into Raid Legends. So if I were to do an ad and were to be like, not even say it's good, if I was wearing a sword and running around slashing people and I'm like, Raid Legends, check it out. I mean, you should be looking at your creators at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know any other. I mean, the thing is I hate when people guess what I do, so I don't want to guess what they do. But it's like, if those people, even if they say this is sponsored, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore, by the way. Like, people will say this is sponsored, and I'll be like, what does that mean?
Yeah, it doesn't always mean they're just paying you.
You're not getting out of jail free by saying it's sponsored. You're still delivering that to your watchers. And in some of those cases, we're talking 12 million people. So that's how a company makes money as well. If you have 12 million people, you can guarantee a good majority of those people are absolutely idiots. And they will buy whatever a person shows up because they're on YouTube just clicking subscribe, blah, blah, blah. And if a person's running around in Raid Legends, they think it looks cool. And they just click it.
Yeah, man. Anything you want to tap in with, Dustin?
I think you guys covered it.
All right. Coach Blue writes in with 2 questions. Nice 2 questions. Happy spooky season. Hope you're all doing well. Number 1, what's your guys' favorite holiday? I know Karak's is Christmas, if I'm not mistaken. I've been really enjoying Halloween in the recent years. I share in Karak's love and passion for Christmas. But just Dustin, all right, no problem. Dustin, I don't know. I'm trying to think here. You look like a guy who really loves his Easter.
No,
okay, no,
I don't have anything.
I'm kidding. I'm going to say really. My real answer here is Thanksgiving.
I do like Thanksgiving. but I think I'm gonna have to go with you guys with Christmas.
All
But
right.
I need to be slightly specific.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of Christmas Eve because for the most part, it's a very chill day for me. I relax throughout the day, have a delicious dinner with the family, and we have a tradition, which is part of the next question, so I'll save it. Christmas Day is too busy for me. I have to go to a million people's houses. It's just I honestly, it kind of sucks because it doesn't ruin Christmas, but it definitely is a tiring day. So Christmas Eve and the holiday leading up to it, I'm a big fan. And I take that week off. And for this,
That always feels good. Yeah.
yeah, we're really hoping with Colin's Last Stand that we're going to do a lot of stuff to try to make December a lot easier, which to any Colin fans out there, that doesn't mean less content. We're just looking at some different options as
Scheduling
far
in
as
advance.
doing stuff in advance
Yeah.
and stuff
I
to
do
try
the
to
same
take
thing.
some time in December. So
Yeah, actually, it's funny that you bring that up because we had a message earlier about like the patron content I'm doing, which I do every week anyway. But a lot of those videos are going to go live to the public in December while I'm gone because they're videos I spent a shit ton of time on. You know, and I don't like to to take a term from Dow shovelware to my audience, but at the same time, like, yeah, you got to be efficient with this stuff. So yeah, a lot of creators are in the same boat. We all want to just like get that part of Christmas. Have some time off to hang out with the family, to regenerate, recharge for a new year.
right.
So question 2, we can all answer because we all know Karak's a Christmas freak. What is a holiday tradition that you have continued from your childhood? Dustin and Maddie, what is a new holiday tradition that you would want to start someday with your own families? Have a great weekend. Dustin, you said that you have a tradition. Let's hear that.
We always watch Muppet Christmas Carol on Christmas Eve because it rules.
All right.
And I plan to never stop doing that. Okay. For the rest of my life, till the day I die, we're going to be
No one
watching
will stop
Muppet
you.
Christmas Carol on Christmas Eve.
I will never stop you.
Thank you.
Karak, what are your traditions for Christmas? Because we know that's your favorite.
We don't really have traditions, I would
Okay.
say.
Do you drink eggnog?
Oh,
Yeah, but not on on
Does a
Christmas
bear
if
shit
it's
in the
there,
woods?
but I'll drink it. Yeah, I'll drink it the day it's available. But I would do that in July if they had it around here.
yeah, right.
Drink it right now. Yeah, we don't really do traditions just because everybody's spread around too. I guess in the old days we would, because I always watch Christmas Vacation at some point. It's like one of my favorite, Chevy Chase Christmas Vacation. It's like one of my favorite movies. Christmas stuff. Die Hard maybe. Like the original Die Hard was set during, or Die Hard 2, sorry, was set during Christmas. So we usually watch the Die Hard series, but nothing really. I think most of my family's dead. Like, not to be rude, but the older ones I think hold tradition better. And like my grandparents held tradition very closely. My mom and dad a little less so, and me a little less so, which always makes me nervous that if I have kids, like, you know, how because I think those are awesome. I think like my favorite parts of being a kid were doing Christmas with my grandparents. So.
Right. Yeah, yeah. To sort of piggyback on what you said, a lot of my family, older ones, have passed as well. Not to make this somber,
Sucks.
but yeah, you know what, this year is going to be kind of a test for our tradition, because for sure, for those who are unaware, you know, my grandma, my Mimi, she passed earlier this year, and you know, she was at the heart of our Christmas tradition. So every Christmas Eve, we'd go to church together. We'd have Italian food together. The following day on Christmas Day would be like we'd open stockings. Mimi would come over. We'd have a little bit of lunch. We would start opening gifts under the tree. She would bring in her own gifts later that night. We'd open those. We tried to stretch it out as much as we could to make it an all-day event. Obviously, now with her gone, that sort of shakes up what we have to do. Where it's going to be, you know, it's going to be kind of a test, but I do know we're still going to do things like we always watch Trans-Siberian Orchestra the night before. That's like always a thing. I've actually seen them in concert. It's fucking incredible. It's so awesome. We always have the 7 fish on Christmas Eve night. A lot of Christmas Eve traditions, and then we
Same
get
with
up
us. It's
get
almost
up
all
around
Christmas Eve.
yeah, like Christmas Day is, I think, no different from anyone else. At least I get up at like 9. We open gifts and just hang out the whole day. You know, I don't go off into my room and like hang by myself. You know, I just spend it with the family. But yeah, it's really leading up to that. Like every Saturday, we'll do a thing called a snack party. So my mom will go to the store, or I'll go to the store, pick out some cool snacks, some food that we've never tried before. We'll flip on a couple of movies for the holiday and kind of get like amped up for it. You know, we always get our Christmas tree the day after Thanksgiving. So yeah, we have traditions in place, but a lot of them are going to change this year. Like maybe this year, my girlfriend's going to come over. My brother's girlfriend's going to come over. We're going to have the holiday together. Yeah, because my mom's more protective of her traditions, to be completely transparent. Yeah. So yeah, like I'm like, I want to have my girlfriend over. She's like, well, hold up. That's not what we do every year. That's not good.
Not only that, Maddie, but I'm not saying you would, but like I had somebody who's brought their girlfriend to Christmas who is not married to that girlfriend now. I can tell you that's not the best. It's not the most fun sometimes. Like a year later, and everybody was asking my wife, current wife, like, "Are you blah blah blah?" It's like, no.
Yeah.
And it was just like, "Oi!"
Yeah. I get that. But yeah, those are some of our traditions. As for a new tradition I'd want to start with my own family someday, I'd probably say, you know, just carrying on what we do. Just like instead of it being my Mimi, it's my mom who, you know, we're doing like the Christmas Eve stuff with and the Christmas at night with, that type of stuff. The question was also for you, Dustin. I know, Karak, you sort of answered it, but Dustin, you bring little Furman into the house.
Oh, a new tradition? I don't know. I can't. That'd have to be something special. So I can't think of anything off the cuff.
Okay. No problem.
I will say something. I don't do this. My brother does something. They go to a movie every Christmas Day because the theaters open up, which this, you know, obviously we don't know what's happening here. But they made it I don't know where this came from, but it's sort of a big thing. Like a bunch of people go to the movies, they watch a movie, and then they go play mini golf. Which I guess is like, and not a small thing. I mean, like, it's sort of a busy place. Like it's become sort of this.
I know the movie
westernized
has.
Christmas maybe or something.
Yeah, I've heard the movie theater has, but I didn't know about the mini golf. That sounds like awesome.
I didn't either, but I mean it's big. Like they have like Christmas ornaments hanging off all of the items. I guess any themed place that would work, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Now that I think about it, anything.
Funkrat writes in with 2 questions. Number 1, I don't drink alcohol much, and when I do drink, it's often the same few drinks. I want to try stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit, so I was wondering if you gentlemen had any recommendations.
Rubbing alcohol poured through white bread.
That sounds
and
great.
then when you're blind,
What the hell is that? I'm so confused. I'm too young for this shit, I guess.
It's considered the poor man's like alcohol. It's an old myth. It actually doesn't exist because they're not the same kind of alcohols. But it was always a big thing. It's like, are you homeless, man? Drink this. It was always such a weird thing, a weird idea to drink. I don't drink alcohol. I've always wanted to try, because I'm allergic to it, but I've always wanted to try like, it's mint. It's got, oh fuck. What?
Mint julep? Or
No, I knew that's what I was going to say. It's the other one. It's
oh, it's slipping my mind too.
Oh my God. And my ex's dad would always drink it when we go out, and it had a good smell to no.
Mojito?
Not a mojito.
Not a mojito.
It's not.
A margarita.
I'll have to look it up. What?
It was just like a margarita because you guys were just throwing out M drinks. I was just like,
no.
Margarita.
Do you guys drink that much anymore?
Not really.
I don't drink much because it usually makes me sick. But if I was drinking, which I actually did have, I had a gin and tonic the other day. Delicious dry drink if you like something dry. If you want something sweet, my go-to is the old fashioned. Fantastic drink. Just be careful where you order it because if they're muddling fruit at the bottom, they're not doing it right. Honestly, you're probably better off making one yourself, and they're very easy to make.
Cream de menthe.
Cream? Ooh, I've never had that.
Either have I, like I said, but something about it excited me. Yeah, I don't think any of us really drink that much, do we?
Yeah.
I mean, well,
I
sure
really don't. Yeah, just nothing is appealing. Like I don't know. Like it always gives me a headache, and I don't drink a lot. That's like obviously people be like, "Oh, you have a hangover or something." It's like, no, I'll have like a beer, and I'm just like, "Oh, this fucking." I feel like shit now.
My wife's Chinese, so she has the I don't know if
The
you've seen it,
flushing?
but like the Chinese get flushing in their face
Yeah.
because their
Oh, okay.
capillaries are closer to the skin. And dude, she looks like the worst sunburn you could. It's like your shirt, Maddie. It's so and she gets so embarrassed, but she likes having the occasional drink. She's like you. It's like one, she's got a headache and her face is red. Just
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know. Like if I were to make a suggestion, Funk Rat, if you like a sweet drink, I would say Crown Royal with ginger ale was one of my go-tos for a couple of years.
Crown Royal.
Yeah, hey dude, with ginger ale,
Yikes.
it's a really good combo, man.
Ginger
I
ale,
like it.
okay. Mixed, maybe. I can see it.
I've never had Crown Royal just on its own. So I don't know if that's bad. I wouldn't be surprised, but the ginger ale, like, it brings it to a whole other level, man. It's really good. I would suggest that. Outside of that, man,
Canadian whiskey.
is it really?
Mhm.
Nice. It comes in a fancy little velvet casing.
yeah. Just so you know, that's how I knew what that was because we would take the casing and use them for Dungeon and Dragons dice bags.
Oh.
The
Makes
purple
sense.
and gold. Oh, dude,
Yeah, it
they're
looks like
beautiful. They're like a velveteen kind of like covering, and we would
Yeah.
my friends' dads would drink that, and we'd be like, "Dude, can I have one?" And he'd go and steal it, and we
Yeah,
all of us had.
You're
that.
paying more
So
for the
cool.
bag than the actual drink itself. Let's be
For
honest.
sure, for sure. Yeah.
Number 2 is Halloween is fast approaching and one of my favorite holidays. It looks like I'll have to skip it due to this year's ongoing events, though. What about you guys? How do you feel about Halloween? What is your favorite Halloween memory? I got one.
Go for it.
I always remember when I think of Halloween, it was a young Maddie. I think I was in 7th grade, I want to say.
A young wee Matty.
Yeah, young wee Maddie. I was a decade ago or whatever. I don't know. Getting up there now. I remember in 7th grade-ish, I was with my buddies, and we decided, let's ding-dong ditch some people. So we were walking around, just being idiots, hoping to evoke a reaction from someone. So we find this one house and just slam on the door, ring the doorbell, run off. We hear nothing, right? We're like, okay, this is a boring night. Halloween stinks. But then all of a sudden, we're walking down this road, right? Pitch black. No sidewalk. I need to emphasize that before we get to the next step. No sidewalk. We're just walking down the road. And all I hear is like a beep, beep. And then like a vroom, like a car starting. And all my friends are walking, talking. And at first I ignore it, right? I'm just like, I hear it, but I don't acknowledge it. And I'm like, wait, fuck. I was like, that came from the house we just ding-dong ditched. So I'm like, yo, guys, like, this person's getting in the car looking for us. And so we just run, and there's it was like as if it was perfectly made for us. To our right is this small cut in the road into someone's backyard that just, if it were not there, we would have easily gotten run over because we literally dive into this pathway. And right as that happens, this dude rips it around that corner, easily going like 40 or 50, which doesn't sound that fast. But if that were to have met my tailbone, that probably would have hurt a lot. And then now it turns into a stealth mission, right? So that was the cutscene. Now the stealth mission has engaged. So we're crawling through backyards like army crawling. We're crouch walking because this guy's like, or girl, I don't know who, was like patrolling the neighborhood, just looking for us. And we're like timing our movements. We're like freezing when we got to. We're hiding when we got to. He drives by. We're like, all right, go now. I'm like, we navigated our way back to the house. And then we just enjoyed candy and drinks. Good time. Drinks as in soda, by the way.
Damn.
Good time. Good story. That was a nice.
It's hard to follow that up.
Young rebel. Wait, was it really? Okay, cool. Just making sure I
Sounds
wasn't
intense.
boring anyone to death.
For how do I feel about Halloween? Let's see. I like Halloween, but I think a lot of people, Maddie, our age, treat Halloween a little bit. There's a little too much excitement. Like it's like Halloween is the end all be all, and I'm not
get
quite
it.
there.
I don't get
Do you know what I mean? Do you see the obsession on Twitter where people like change their Twitter names? Listen, if you do that, it's fine. Do what you want.
Spooky plays with the skull emoji.
Right. If you enjoy that, more power to you. I don't understand it. That's okay. Favorite Halloween memory? I don't know. I have lots of memories. I'll go with when Star Wars Episode 1 came out. My dad and I had a duo costume where my dad was Obi-Wan and I was Anakin. And I have a fantastic picture. I will post it on your Discord so you can see it later
Okay.
of us together. And it's a very cute memory.
How innocent compared to mine.
That's right. It's opposite. I had to cool everything. I had to even it out.
Yeah, we've been balanced. And now, Karak, you can just split the wood here.
I don't think I have any like cool stories for Halloween. It is one of my favorite. By the way, I forgot to mention I will be doing the new tradition for me. This will be the 4th year is doing a stream on Christmas Day for people who can't get out.
That's cool.
And with this especially. But in the past, I just did it because a lot of us are at home and you don't have family nearby. But for Halloween, yeah, nothing. Like I love Halloween, but I don't really have any special traditions other than we don't have trick-or-treaters, but I keep buying the candy, so I can eat it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the main thing I do is I always lie to myself when we go to the store. I'll be like, we for sure need like 6 pounds of Milky Ways just in case some really hefty, fatty kids show up. And then the moment we get it home, I mow into that shit. They'll be like,
so out of
candy
curiosity,
person,
because you specified Milky Way, I don't know if you do this actually, but when you buy candy for the incoming trick-or-treaters, do you buy an assortment bag, or are you one of those just psychopaths who buy like one type of candy and just fill a bowl with it and leave it outside your house?
Bro, I don't wait around, man. Like I buy the assorted about 4 bags. I buy about 4 bags of each candy. We usually get about $150 worth of candy.
How many trick-or-treaters do you get? Wow.
0.
We
haven't got a trick-or-treater in 11 years. I eat it all.
Oh.
I buy it, I lie to myself,
Legendary.
and then eat it all. And we
was a
get
plot
it the
twist.
day it's available. That's all. I just talked about this in the last podcast. That is quite literally what I do. The craziest amount of gorging on Halloween food you've ever seen. Like I will end up having my desk with just wrappers of like Skittle bags piled high. I'm sure my insulin levels super high.
I was going to
This is
say
my
your
favorite thing,
blood numbers when they come back.
Who gives a
your
shit,
blood
right?
test results
Like,
are
if I
just-
die happy, yeah. When they take my blood, it'll come out Skittle colored.
Yeah,
and shit.
really.
But yeah, I don't have anything. I mean, Halloween's just awesome to me. It's always, we still got to trick or treat pretty much until I stopped, which was nice because I know for a lot of like young kids, especially like anybody 16 younger right now, they're doing a lot of the school stuff. Where like they don't even really want them walking, which is sad.
Yeah. 2 questions left, boys. Number 1 from I Am Chillcut. Whatever happened to Sony's 1989 games/sports? I remember going to a friend's house and playing NFL Game Day 96 and being amazed. This is when I knew I had to have a PS1. It's amazing what can sell people, huh?
MLB, wasn't that theirs? The one that they
have
just
the
announced
show.
was going multi-plat?
Yeah, they have the show. I don't know what happened to these other ones like Game Day, and there was I think there was like a boxing game of some kind.
Licenses, right? I would assume because I know that's why the 2K games stopped being made, the football games. Was it because Madden bought the licenses?
Yeah, I mean, what you kind of see is the market really just consolidating. Like PlayStation still dominates as it stands the baseball space because 2K used to be their competitor, but there used to be a lot of sports game competition, man. There was like the Midway games, right? Like there was the arcade takes on them. Then there was, a bunch of different angles. There was college football. There was actual football. There was the Midway football. There was
the
like,
NCAA. Is that?
Yeah, that was the college one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of takes on it. But just over time, like companies don't see sorry, my voice is going away. A lot of companies just don't see the value in the investment, which sucks because like that was a really good time.
Game, Maddie, have we ever had a sports game that did college and then you could like import the roster to the professional?
I think NCAA did that starting with 10, I want to say.
Okay, so you could make your star and then play it like
port it over
or wherever. Okay, gotcha.
Which is why I think now that the NCAA sort of fixed how they plan on like paying players and all that shit, because that's why they held up the EA NCAA series. I think they're going to probably end up going back to it eventually. And because now these players can earn money through that or something like that, which they should, in my opinion. So yeah, I think that's where they went. Last question. Paco Luigi writes in, hey yo, Hope all of y'all are doing well. So I've got a 4-day weekend coming up. Fingers crossed I don't have to cover for anybody. We're crossing for you as well. And I'm thinking on what I should do. My question is, if any of you gents could go on a mini vacation tomorrow with no strings attached, what would you do?
No strings attached?
No strings attached, I guess. So you don't got to worry about prepping your work or any of that shit.
Oh,
You just
okay.
go.
That is not what I thought that meant.
Oh, like relationships and stuff. Yeah.
Because I was like Tory Black's house, and I'd be there yesterday. Dude, Tory Black, Jenna Hayes, Karak sandwich, fucking 4 days. I'd come back dehydrated, weigh about 70 pounds less, most of it in body fluids being lost. Times. That would be mine.
Bro.
Well, that's what I thought he meant. When he said no strings attached, that's what I always think of as relationship stuff. Not like
how about
work.
how about your G-rated mini vacation with no strings attached?
Well, it's not as fun. I know that. I don't even have one now. I went directly.
Yeah, you just went there.
I did.
Okay.
Karak went directly to the orgy. I mean,
Well, dude,
let's just say what it is.
Yeah, he went for it.
it's an orgy 3 people. No, that's a menage.
He
a trois.
said a sandwich.
Well, sandwich is also not an orgy.
Well,
It's
wait, what
three.
constitutes an orgy?
Well, a menage a
I thought it
trois
was
is
4 or
3.
more.
Okay.
Menage a trois
so
is 3, so it would be 4 or more. Yeah.
okay. I need to get my orgy definition.
Yeah, as a
locked
married
out.
man, you certainly need
Right.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
Dustin, you need to know as the married man, like that's going to sound really weird on a podcast. Like as the married man tells the other married man, well, the first thing you need to know when you get married is how many people a menage a trois actually is versus an orgy. What was the question? Right.
What would you do with a mini vacation, no strings attached? In
Go to the Grand
I
Canyon.
will add my amendment of in a innocent way.
Grand Canyon.
Grand Canyon. Okay. What would you
Mine's-
do? Would you make a
I
Grand
just wanna
Canyon
visit-
sandwich?
Fucking whatever. That's on you. I went completely back to normal. You brought it all the way around. I wanted to go there since Red Dead 1,
Okay.
Sedona, like that desert area. Actually, since the Brady Bunch, because they went there when I was a fucking little kid, and I saw an episode of Brady Bunch, and they went there. I've always been interested in the Grand Canyon and the landscape and the color and all that stuff.
Okay. Dustin.
For
how could you
me,
ever
I would
compete?
go to Japan because I was really hoping to go to Japan early 2021, and I don't think that's happening because I
That's
don't
funny, I
think
was
we
planning
can
the
plan
same
for
thing.
that. So that's
Yeah.
my answer.
I was planning a similar thing, right? Like we were hoping things would start to blow over by then. Seems that's not the case. So yeah, I would definitely have picked Japan. I don't want to swagger jack Dustin all too much here, though. Would like to have an answer that stands out a little bit. So I'll say South Korea.
Mhm.
You know, I remember my martial arts school had a trip there a couple of years ago. It just timing-wise, I couldn't go. And, you know, I was kind of new to the school where I wasn't sure I was actually comfortable with going. But I do appreciate Korean culture a lot. I learned a lot about it in my time studying martial arts. So for me, I'd like to kind of go to where a lot of it all began. So that would be my pick. No strings attached. I'm peeling off this plastic for my monitor that's been here for about 2 years now.
Now,
Boom.
let's discuss true no strings attached. No, I'm just
Oh
joking.
my God.
As Dustin's like, hang on, let me make sure my wife doesn't ever find this podcast.
Maddie, you mind putting this on private?
Yeah, you mind throwing this up on the 18 and above only privates? Wait, not privates. 18 and above private.
Private video.
Or privates.
Yeah. Or menage a trois.
All right, that is our last question.
Oh, is that it?
Great way to end it. Yeah, just above 3 hours again, gentlemen. So well done. We've made it through here.
Looks
That's
like
a testament to
menage a trois
how.
is a thing. 3 hours.
I don't know, man. I really don't. I genuinely don't. I would say look that up if you want to do it before the show concludes.
But you were saying no, it is 3. But you were saying it's a testament to what? How good we are.
I think how
Amazing.
how much we how great we do together, man. Like it's not boring sitting here and just yakking for 3 hours. Like this time flies, man. Like we started this section. I'm pretty sure. Actually, I can check. According to my timestamps, we started this at 1 hour and 48 minutes into our recording. So it's just kind of crazy,
Oh,
man.
really?
Yeah, like we just
Speaking of crazy, that has no connection to what you're saying, but I got to ask you guys about this because you might know it better than me. This game.
Mm-hmm.
This morning, I was asked to cover a game called Oxhorn 2. And I said, I probably won't have a chance. This is coming out on the Switch. And I said, I probably won't have a chance. But I got to tell you guys, I don't know if I'm going crazy, but this game fucking looks awesome. And I don't mean awesome like the best graphics ever, but like a Zelda / ittier version of Zelda. I guess I don't know how to describe it, but you guys, sounds like at least one of you is looking up, so you probably don't know what it is.
What's it called again?
I was hoping. It's called Oxhorn 2. It was a mobile game on Apple. It was considered their exclusive, like their big exclusive, and it's now coming to Switch. And I was asked to cover it, and I gotta say, man, if you're a Switch fan, you may want to look at this game.
Is it actually called Oxhorn? Because I'm just finding the YouTuber.
Oh,
yeah, me too.
I'm sorry. I'm so accustomed to talking to him. I put Oxhorn. It's Ocean Horn 2.
Oh.
Apologies.
Yeah. No,
I see him on Twitter all the time, and I just said Oxhorn. Yeah. So Ocean Horn 2. I don't know, man. I gotta say, I'm seriously considering just like purchasing it, and then maybe playing it on the Christmas or something.
Yeah, wow.
I just rarely
Apple
see
Arcade
Switch
exclusive
stuff
released on September 19th, 2019.
Yeah, and it didn't even have like amazing reviews, but everybody who's checked out the Switch version, the previews have stated that it actually, it seems like a good mini Zelda, like 25, 35 hours. But I don't know. It looked cool to me,
wow,
so I didn't know if you guys had checked it out.
Man, I'm actually very curious about this now.
Yeah, it looks interesting.
Wonder if
I like
play it
those
on a
games
phone.
that are middle. Yeah, I wouldn't want to play it on. Yeah, I'm not a phone fan, really, for games. Has there been a phone game you guys have like not that's like boring, but like a true game that you guys have played on your phones?
I've never really played a true game. It's always like a gotcha game that, is spun off from a series I enjoy. That seems to sort of always be the case. I don't know. I guess there was one game.
Controls just don't work for me.
Yeah, motion controls, touchscreen too, battery life, like those are all pretty big factors for me. But I remember there was one game where it was almost like, I don't know if it was like streets or like letters, and you'd sort of like swipe up. It was something 9, I think it was what it was called. And
Threes?
Was it Threes? That might have been it.
The one with the cards where you have to combine cards.
Maybe.
That's my go-to phone game is Threes. That's like the only game that I play on phones at this point, basically.
Maybe that was it. That doesn't sound right. It was like, that's section 9. I'd have to look it up at some point, and I'm sure it would take me a while to find. So at this point, it does not matter. Ladies and gentlemen, if you got this deep, you made it to the 3+ hour mark, you're a warrior, and you should be treated as such with a hashtag, which Karak is chuckling. So if you could spell that.
It'd have to be French. Yeah, I don't want to require spelling from people listening to this podcast.
I would almost say let's do that just to see how people spell it. Because we get it as long as we're tagged, right?
That's amazing. Yeah.
It could just be like managed twat.
It's like a challenge. It's like a challenge. Yeah, it's like a code word.
Let's see. Do you want to do that? Like,
I have no issue doing that, but that's up to you guys if you guys are cool with that. Hashtag menage a trois.
Let's do it.
All right, sure.
Yeah.
What does this even mean again?
It's sex between 3 people.
Oh, Jesus Christ. What have we done?
Well, we can change it.
We can.
Nope.
Yeah, we can change it to the easier one, which is orgy, which is 4 people. No, I'm just joking.
Oh, no.
No, we can change it to something else. It's no big deal. It's like I said, I'm not very particularly PR friendly on my Twitter, so like I drop some.
Karak's fun time.
Oh, dude,
Karak's vacation.
Karak sandwich.
Hey, don't
Karak sandwich.
don't fucking put that on me. Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. No. Come up with your own.
We'll say the sandwich, because we did talk about the sandwich at the beginning and a sandwich at the end.
We did. No condiments, just me, Tori, and Jenna. I'm sorry. I'm tired.
I guess so. That's fine with me, though. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed episode 274. Have a good whatever time of day it is for you. Night, evening, morning, whatever. Doesn't matter. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to sign out. We'll see you next week, all right? Peace out.
Peace out.
See ya.